If I haven't had opportunity to meet you before through any of our networks or through the interview process, it is just my absolute honour to welcome you formally to your scholarship year. And gosh, you're in for a treat. So I know you've already started your scholarship work in terms of doing some work with the King's Fund, but today we'll spend some time talking you through the detail of what you can expect and really helping you to think about how you can make the most of this opportunity for you. We have some very overarching learning outcomes for this programme, but we keep them very vague on absolute purpose, because what we know from years and years of collecting case studies and evaluation data is that every single one of you will go on your complete individual journey through this year. And that what we can do as a foundation is facilitate those safe learning spaces for you to explore challenges that you've come across, think about what your ambitions are, and really help you to put yourself in the most advantageous position to have the influence that you are looking for and you desire to make a real difference, both within the profession and for the people that we support through our services. The other thing that we feel so proud of, and we know is the real golden thread that runs through our scholarships, is the network that you will build starting from today, but growing throughout the scholarship year with other like-minded nurses and midwives who you will share this journey with. And in just a moment, I'll introduce you to Professor Greta Westwood, who's our CEO, and she will be testament to the power of that network and the difference that it can make to you throughout the whole of your career. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to some members of the Academy team that are here today to support the Welcome Day, but more widely, your experience on the scholarship year. So already very active in the chat box is Lucy Brown. Lucy is our Deputy Director of Academy. So Lucy, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yeah, absolutely. And welcome everybody. I think we're all just as excited as you are. We're thrilled to be able to welcome you today. And it's been lovely to meet half of you probably in interviews, and great to see you coming and starting your scholarship. Wishing you all the very, very best, and I won't take up any more time. But welcome.
Thanks, Lucy. And another key member of the team who you will have already had huge amounts of email correspondence with, and the person that is answering all of your questions is Carolina. So would you like to say hello, Carolina?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so happy and proud to be part of your scholarship journey at FNF. And congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carolina. And we also have Jo here on the call, who is our communications and marketing manager. Now, Jo has already been building our anticipation about today. But Jo, did you want to say hello to the group?
Yeah, hi there everyone. I'm Jo. Really lovely to meet you all. I'm going to be live tweeting throughout the afternoon, so do please get involved. I hope it's okay to take pictures of you all. I hope that's going to be okay. And also the hashtag we're going for is Scholarship Welcome Day 2022. But we can pop that in the chat as well. But yeah, have a lovely afternoon.
Thanks, Jo. And if you're not on Twitter already, we would strongly recommend that you do get on Twitter to start to use that as a platform to network with each other. And also, last but not least, we've got Debbie here, who is our Head of Nursing and Midwifery Leadership Development.
Hi everyone, massive congratulations on starting your scholarships. Really looking forward to today and meeting you all over the next 12 months. Hope you enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you, Debbie. And I think hiding in the background there is Sharon. There she is. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, everyone. Afternoon, everyone. Congratulations. And I hope you all enjoy the afternoon.
So Sharon is our Leadership and Scholarship Programme Manager. So this is, when we say Team Florence, this is part of Team Florence, but this is very much Team Florence that will be looking after you throughout your scholarship year. So please do reach out to us with any questions, or even just to keep contact with us and let us know how you're getting on. So we'll move now on to our programme, and to start our programme off this afternoon is our fantastic CEO, Professor Greta Westwood. Now, the great thing about Greta is that she embodies everything that the FNF scholarships are hoping to achieve. She is one of the most tenacious leaders I have ever had the pleasure to work with. She has true passion for the professions, and that guides her decision-making every single day. But one of the things that I love about working with this organisation and with Greta as the leader is that there is always a sense of moving forwards, and that moving forwards is always about doing our very best for the profession. And so it's a privilege, Greta, to introduce you to our scholarship year of 2022-2023.
Thanks, Gemma. I wasn't sure whether tenacious is a compliment or not, but I'll take it. I think so. Good afternoon, everyone. And really, as Gemma said, as all the rest of the team, Florence, have said, a really big welcome, a really big well done for getting this far. And you must feel really proud, because it is not everybody that obviously was one shortlisted, and out of that shortlisted group made it as far as being awarded a scholarship. So amazing, well done. I've just got a few minutes to welcome you, and I thought about what to say. And I think the biggest things that I want to say about being in front of you today is how humbled I am by your achievements. You know, I've read most of your applications. I've seen what you've achieved, and all the things that you've managed to achieve so far. But most amazingly, your passion to want to do more. And I would say that is the key thing that makes a great FNF scholar. And Florence, Gemma just touched on this, but Florence said, unless we're making progress every year, every month, every week, then take my word for it, we're going back. She also said, as nurses, I'm sorry, those of you who are midwives in the room, she never used the word midwife until later on. So she used the word nurse to begin with. We are never finished nurses. We must be learning all of our lives. And I think that's true. I think that's what you embody. You could have easily said, I've got to this part in my profession so far, I don't need to get any better. But you are going forward. You want to go forward. And Team Florence is here to support your future, and I sincerely mean that. We've got a great team that is the one thing that we do is we want to make sure that you go from being already amazing to more amazing. And Dame Yvonne, our chair, isn't here today, but she sent a message. But I know, because I was speaking with her this morning, that she wants me to thank you on behalf of her and the trustees for everything that you do all the time and your complete commitment to the professions. Now, I know she is the royalty of nursing and midwifery. She is still going strong at that ripe old age. I won't embarrass her by saying her age, but you can look her up on Wikipedia. And she has never, ever, ever let go of she's had the baton, she's passed it on, but the golden baton has always stayed with her. She is an absolute champion for all that nurses and midwives do, and we are very lucky that she's been our chair. So I know that she would want to say thank you for your commitment, and thank you for taking the professions forward. Thank you for applying as an FNF scholar, and she, I'm sure, will say some few words at the end when it's your presentation in a year's time. So at the Florence Nightingale Foundation, we talk about courageous and vulnerable leadership. And I think you have totally epitomised this, you and your colleagues, your teammates, everybody in the nursing and midwifery professions, particularly you as leaders and now as scholars. The last 2 years has been the most hideous time for everyone. And I think, and I know that everyone will know that you have shown the complete courage and leadership during this time. And importantly, as nurses and midwives, you've shown the world what a great nurse and midwife is. And at the Florence Nightingale Foundation, therefore, gosh, I've suddenly got very slim. I rather like that photograph of me. Thanks, Carolina. I know at the Florence Nightingale Foundation that we will support you in everything that we do. And during the pandemic, we tried really hard to support you. It was a difficult time, but we did everything that we could possibly do during the pandemic. And importantly now, as life starts to get a little bit back to normal, and we watch patiently for nurses and midwives to start to repair and recover, we will continue to support our fabulous colleagues, and of course they're your colleagues too. So today is the start of your leadership journey for the next 12 months. I know that you've already done some work with the King's Fund, but please don't think that your connection with the FNF will stop at the end of 12 months. It certainly doesn't. And we want you to support the next generation of scholars. We need you to support our foundation. Whilst it looks like we're an enormous team, we're not, we're a tiny team, and we couldn't do what we do without your support. And so we need you for your ideas. We want your ideas about how we can make the foundation better, how we can grow, how we can make it relevant, and how we continue to support you. And importantly, we want to continue on the basis of that as becoming a world-class leadership academy. So I'm saying that we need you to support everything that we do and more. And from today, you are now part of the FNF family. Now, as part of our strategy for the next 5 years, a commitment I made in 2018 was to support the leadership development of nurses and midwives from an ethnic minority background in their leadership development. And since that time, we've supported over 300, and this number creeps up every year. And some of you as leaders already will have supported some of those that have been on our leadership programs. And I really want to say thank you for supporting their leadership journey. I want us to commit together as FNF and as a group of 2022 leadership scholars that you'll carry on supporting this agenda to support nurses and midwives from an ethnic minority background, so that they can have the equal opportunities to all those promotional jobs and roles in our professions. And we will soon be releasing our next 5 year strategy, of which that is a thread throughout. So that would be a great commitment from you to the foundation from today, as well as all the other things that you're going to do. So finally, I want to say, enjoy the next 12 months. Give yourself, and importantly, give yourself the permission to take the time out, because you surely deserve it. So for once, it's all about you, whether you're a mother, a father, a partner, a dog or a cat owner. I bet you always give everything, everyone else, some or most of you, but never give yourself you. So please be a little selfish in the next 12 months. Say no when you can, protect your time, but accept that life goes on and sometimes stuff happens. That's the reality, and we can't change that. But if stuff does happen, then we're here to support you. And finally, have the year of your professional life. Courageously let this next year, this scholarship year, transform you into brilliant nurses and midwives, and be the change that you want for you. The more you immerse yourself in the scholarship program, the greater the impact will be. And of course, that will impact on our professions, on your teams, and ultimately on the patient care and the health of our populations. So I welcome you, all of you, at the start of your scholarship year. It's going to be amazing. It'll rush past. Enjoy it. You'll find within your scholarship cohorts, you'll have created friends for life. When I was a scholar in 2012, I am still in contact with the majority of those people. We didn't have cohorts like you've got, but the people that I clung to, clung literally, I'm still in contact with, and we've all helped each other in the next run of our careers. So it's a powerful network. Use it, use us, and use the people that you want to, so your mentors, everybody here is to support you, and really take this time out. It's precious. You deserve it, and we want to see what's going to happen to you with anticipation and excitement. So thank you, Gemma. Thanks for the introduction, and I'll obviously staying on the call to be on part of the cohort group later. Thanks, Gemma.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Greta. And I really hope every one of you had opportunity then to turn away from the noise that perhaps is going on in other parts of your world, whether that be your professional, personal world, and really just listen to that permission that Greta offered you there to totally invest in this opportunity, because we are certain, absolutely confident that when you're able to do that, you will absolutely reap the benefits. Well, thank you so much, Greta. Greta will be around for the rest of our session today and speaking with one of the groups of scholars later on this afternoon. So Greta mentioned that unfortunately Dame Yvonne Moores, who was our chair, isn't able to make it today. She's recovering from COVID. She is really sad not to be here. I know for her, this is one of her most special days in her calendar, and she describes this role as FNF chair as one of her most proudest achievements, despite the fact that she has been CNO of England, Wales and Scotland. We have managed to edit a short video from Yvonne that she would like us to share with you now. So I'm going to hand you over to the team now, who will hopefully be able to just get that video going for us, and we'll listen to Dame Yvonne to speak to us for about 15 minutes.
Thank you very, very much, Greta. And thank you, Gemma, as well. I mean, we have such an amazing team here at FNF. And thank you for organising today the beginning of this wonderful, wonderful path that you are all going to tread. I just feel so very sad though today, because I wish I was in a room with you all, and that next Monday was already here, that I could actually hug you all and say, well done, congratulations, and to say it to you face to face and in person. So it feels just for me really strange to be doing it in this way. But nevertheless, we must make the best of it. As Greta says, it's a celebration afternoon, the beginning of this wonderful, wonderful scholarship, which you have all earned. So big congratulations. You've already, all of you, achieved so much in your careers, so much, of course, as Greta said, in this last year, in terms of your contribution to patient care, to people and families during this pandemic. But there's so much more that you can achieve. And this is what this year is going to be about. Our aim through this year is to make you so confident that you are going to be the future leaders of the profession. And I think not just in the UK, but across the world. Your world is your oyster. And this is what we're seeking to inspire you to look towards and to head towards. We're going to encourage you to be influential. We're going to encourage you and give you skills to enable you to be these leaders of the future. And I think it's just tremendous. And just on a personal note to share with you, it was just such a similar scholarship that I was awarded when I was a ward sister that enabled me to be confident and to ultimately, as Greta says, hold those CNO roles, but most proudly of all, to be the chair of this foundation. So it was an occasion where I met people that I wouldn't normally have met. I was given ideas, of course, skills, but it opened my eyes to how much more I could possibly achieve. Of course, I wanted to be the best ward sister in the country, but after this experience, I wanted to be the best CNO in the world. So this is what I'm hoping this scholarship will fire up in each one of you. And I just want to share with you just two things that I think can inspire you all to have this feeling and to take this exciting path forwards. Two things that have inspired me. The first is to find your heroes. And I want to share with you 3 people that have inspired me. All 3 have achieved against the odds. It's not been easy for any of them to achieve all that they did. It will be no surprise to you that the first one, of course, is Florence. What an inspiring person. To read her biographies, her notes on nursing. I'm sure many of you already have. To be inspired by how she became this legend. To think of how we can replicate what she did and how she did it. How did she become such an influential person? How did she have the courage to walk the corridors of power to bring about change? She used data and information, statistics. And this is something that you will have reinforced during this year. How crucial it is to build our case strongly on that foundation. And she always, as you know, did that. But underlying everything about her, we all know so much, we can all draw from her. What I draw most of all is her empathy. She empathized with individual sick people, with individual families, with the poor, the destitute. And she was alongside them, seeing what their needs were, and then doing something about it. But that empathy, it's something I believe which is innate in all of us as nurses and midwives, but it is something which we need to always recall and have with us as we develop into our leadership roles for the future. Florence, what an inspiration, and maybe she will be one of your heroes too. My second hero was because she very recently died. She lived in a little village in Botswana, and as a girl had no access to education. in poverty. And she was inspired to educate herself and to move forwards into nursing. She wanted to care for others. She saw the sickness, the death around her. And she did, against all odds again. She battled to get her own self educated. She ultimately went to the States, studied nursing, her MSc, and then she came back to Botswana and she lobbied the government to set up the nursing profession. It took her years to do it, great struggles, but with huge tenacity, she achieved it. And she is known as the mother of nursing in Botswana. Her name was Serera Mogui. Some of you may have heard of her. I met her 2 years ago in Thailand. She was our Nurse of the Year. And she was then 94 and in a wheelchair. And the world's media was around and surrounding and interviewing her. And she was so strong, still battling for nursing to be supported and developed further. A most amazing person. She is one of my heroes. And if I feel, as I did very often when I was CNO, I made no progress with ministers, I wasn't getting anywhere, I thought of her and her struggles. And I thought, this is nothing compared with that. Find a hero like her. My third hero that I want to share with you is not a nurse, but a woman from a very ordinary, she won't mind me saying that, background, but she was inspired and she wanted to go into space. And she battled away, became educated. It was a complete man's world that she was in. No woman had ever even been considered to be an astronaut. But she did it, and she became the first woman in space. I met her. Her name, of course, is Helen Sharma. I met her, she spoke to a conference of nurse leaders in England when I was CNO. What an inspiration. The words, many words I remember, but those I particularly remember that she shared with us. Reach for the stars. Go for it. Be inspired. Prepare yourself. Make sure that you're better than others, but have that ambition before you and go for it. What an amazing person. So be inspired by finding your heroes. You will meet some of them during this year, I'm sure, possibly even become your mentor. But make sure they're before you. All of mine demonstrate tenacity, as I've said, immense resilience, but also dedication and great courage. Find your heroes. But the second thing that inspires me is discovering talent. You have been chosen. You have this scholarship. And some of it, of course, is about you, but it must also be about others that perhaps are around you, where you work, that have encouraged you to go for this scholarship, to bid for it. What inspires me, and it always has, is to discover other talent, to help to nurture it, to help develop it. And then ultimately, my ambition has always been to so develop others, some in my team, some that are in my wider network, but develop them so that they will be better than me, that they will be able to take over my job and other roles, even more senior. It is inspirational to see that development and to see that success in others. So I know you will make the most of this scholarship and all that will be the content of it, those that you network with, that mentor you. If I might suggest that it is a privilege to be a scholar of FNF. I had that privilege in a similar way. So make sure that you identify others in this next year or two that you also might be able to nurture and bring forwards as our future leaders as well. So again, congratulations to you all. It's absolutely great to have you. You are now FNF alumni. Wow. We are so proud to have you. You will always be with us and we will always be there for you. So very well done. And I hope during this year, I'll have the opportunity to meet you all. Thank you very much.
Wow, my goodness. I can imagine, well, I can see from your comments in the chat that you will agree with Greta and I that Yvonne is the most inspirational, passionate leader. And we are so lucky that she has been the chair of Florence Nightingale Foundation. I'm going to ask Greta if she will pass on the messages that you're sharing through Twitter and through the chat, because I know how important it will be to Yvonne that she understands that she's still been able to have that impact, even though she wasn't able to join us today. Now, just before we move on to our next equally inspirational guest speaker, I just want to share with you a couple of housekeeping points. So we are in webinar function at the moment, and what that means is, unfortunately, the only way we can interact with you is through our chat box and our Q&A function. But later on in the session, you've all been sent a link via an appointment to a smaller group where you'll be joined with one of the FNF team, where you'll be able to meet each other, the groups that you'll be working with more closely throughout the scholarship year, and also to ask any questions that that have come up throughout the session this afternoon. What I would say to you though is that Lucy Brown, who you met earlier, our Deputy Director of Academy, is looking after the chat box. So if there's anything that pops into your mind, she will do her best to answer that as we go along. We're recording today's session, so if you're not able to stay for the whole of the session, or if there are bits that you unfortunately have to dip out for, you'll be able to access the recording. And also, obviously, you'll get opportunity to listen back, just in case there's any bits of information that you need reminders of. Joe also mentioned that we've got a hashtag, and my phone's beeping like crazy. So if you are on Twitter, if you can use the hashtag Scholarship Welcome Day 2022. and also she'll take some photographs. Now, if you're not comfortable with your photograph appearing on social media, just drop the panelists a private message and we'll make sure that none of those photographs are posted. Okay, so let's move on now to our, as I said, equally inspirational guest speaker. What we wanted, sorry Becky, it's not a hard act to follow, but I'm confident we'll get there. What we wanted to do is give to you today an insight into the potential your FNF scholarship can have on you, both professionally but also personally. And for us, Becky is one of our current scholars, and when I said at the beginning, really investing your whole self into this year, Becky is the perfect example of somebody that has done that 101,000,000%, I think, if there is such a thing. So Becky joins us today as Senior Nurse for Improvement and is from Wales, but I do know that there are new roles on the horizon for Becky as well, which I'm sure she will be able to tell us about. So whenever you're ready, Becky, I'll ask Carolina to share the screen. I know we've got some lovely slides for you.
Yes, the slides are lovelier than I am. So I don't know how I can follow that really. I just tweeted actually about how I was having all the first day feels again about this time last year when I first embarked on my scholarship journey. And it's a silly thing to say, but I wish I was kind of like joining you all again really in terms of that journey. First thing I'd like to say is llongyfarchiadau, congratulations to all of you. You are in for the best 12 months of your life. You know, I can't wait to share with you what I've been doing so far in terms of my scholarship. So I can't see the slides currently. Am I doing something wrong? Sorry, Carolina.
Oh, sorry, Becky. I think Lucy's taken over the sharing.
Oh, Lucy, she's being mean to me then and not allowing me to see my slides.
Bear with me. Let me.
Lots of love for the podcast in the chat. That's lovely to see. Thank you. And who knows, you know, you could be future Scholar Spotlight Session podcast episodes if you're open to that, which would be fantastic. So I've now got.
You got remote control, Becky, now.
She says.
Just click on the presentation.
Click on the presentation. Yeah. It's not.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's me. Look.
Yeah.
So this is me. So this is a little bit about me. Jem has already alluded to the fact I'm a Senior Nurse for Quality and Improvement in one of the Welsh Health Boards in Cwmtaf Morgannwg University Health Board. And I know there are a number of Welsh scholars on this year's scholarship, which absolutely thrills me no end. But I'm not satisfied with that. We want to get more on. We want to get more scholars on for 2023. So I will be coming to my fellow Welsh scholars and looking at how we can grow that passion and those applications across Wales. So look out for that. I've got a great passion for nursing and the professional identity and leadership in nursing. And I've keen interest in psychological safety, human factors, safety science, behaviour and culture, among many other things. So it'll be no surprise really then that my project as a Florence Nightingale scholar was very much around psychological safety and looking at how we build psychological safety in teams. A very ambitious project. My slides are shouting at me. Please move this window away from the. Okay. I don't know what that is. Anyway, sorry. Oh, Caroline, is there any way you can go back with the slides? Because I'm trying to click back. Apologies, I'm used to sharing my screen.
Is this the right slide, Becky?
That's it. Thank you. Thank you. That's brilliant. So it's a hugely ambitious project, but one that I am very passionate about and feel very strongly about, and very keen to start working more broadly across this. So as I said, it's ambitious. Currently where I am in terms of the project is around the raising awareness of others And I've just started exploring some solutions and looking at an area where we can test some of those solutions, both locally in the health board in Cutforth, Morgannwg University Health Board, but also in some partnering health boards as well. So it took me a while to develop myself and develop my expertise. I did a lot of reading and research around what psychological safety was. I became a huge fan of Amy Edmondson's work as a result of that. And I think if there was one message that I could share with you now today around psychological safety, it would be around this in this kind of suggestion that there is an epidemic of silence. My slide, oh, there we are, a bit slow, too fast. I'm too fast for technology. And this was something that resonated a lot with me during the course of my reading and my research around psychological safety. There was always something that I could observe that was happening and I felt that was happening, but I couldn't articulate it. And so what psychological safety, or Amy Edmondson, has done is given me a term or some terminologies to describe and articulate what that is. I was very fortunate. Gemma asked me to provide a case study for a chapter in a book around psychological safety in teams, and I must have done a good job because I'm now the co-author of that chapter in that book, and that's something I never thought I'd be saying. And I'm only just 12 months into this journey, and there's so much more to be done and so much further that I can go as a result of the support that I've been given. The other thing, I'm really excited to see that the foundation are using Padlet. I love Padlet. It's such a fantastic interactive tool. I've seen all of the great stuff that you've all put about what you're hoping to get from your scholarship year, and I hopefully we'll be able to revisit that so I can read them all in more detail. But I created Padlet with all the resources that I gathered over the last 12 months around psychological safety. I'm happy to share these slides. And if you're quick enough, you can grab that QR code and you'll be able to access the Padlet. And it's full of podcasts, articles, sketch notes, everything and anything that I've come across that has anything to do with psychological safety. And so that was kind of the starting point for me. The way in which I'm moving forward with this now is I've created introductory sessions in psychological safety, which I've delivered for some teams, both again locally in my organisation and then external to the organisation. And I've also been asked to develop a workshop, a 3-hour workshop on psychological safety for RCN Wales, which will be happening in July. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can provide the details around how you can sign up for that. One of the defining moments for me so far in Florence has been the moment that the lady herself, Amy Edmondson, somehow came across my Padlet on Twitter and asked if she could share it, and shares it regularly and talks about being a fan of the Padlet. And I've actually reached out to her on several occasions to talk about different things, and she's always responded. And that's just testament to the courage that I've gained as a result of the scholarship, because I would never, ever have thought that I could reach out to somebody like that previously. But also a testament to Amy being such an authentic person that, you know, just responding to me. I can't, so completely fangirl moment. And I know that Jem is also a huge fan of Amy Edmondson's work, so you know it was a shared moment, and I couldn't wait to let Gemma know that had happened. And so I know that Joe has encouraged you to participate in Twitter, and Gemma has also asked you to join Twitter. And whilst the networks and the connections that you'll make as a group moving forward, the networks and connections that are available to you on Twitter, if you're not already using Twitter, are vast. They are huge. I have found a huge tribe of both nurses and quality improvement related people on Twitter, and there is a wealth of knowledge and support and affirmation, and it's just such a great community to be a part of. As with everything, there are some, you know, darker sides to it, but by and large it's been a hugely positive experience. So I would, and of course, you know, if you want to follow me, please feel free. I'm always looking for new followers. I promise I will follow you back. And in terms of Twitter, and in terms of some of the sessions that I've delivered around psychological safety, here's just a few examples of what's being said over Twitter around what it is that I've been doing. I always found this really, really uncomfortable previously, because I always felt like it was a bit like blowing your own trumpet, and that's imposter syndrome would creep in. But now I'm like, I tell everybody, I show everybody, because I've worked hard, and whilst I've had the support and the encouragement of people in the foundation and people in my Florence group, and more broadly people on Twitter, this is still me. This is all me, this is all my doing, this is me pushing at those open doors, this is me taking those opportunities and running with them, and doing whatever I can with them, so that I can grow as a leader, and help others grow as leaders as well, because that's hugely rewarding. And again, we've got a new CNO in Wales, we've got a new Chief Nursing Officer in Wales. We stole her from you in England, so kudos to us. And she's made it very clear about, in her recent CNO address, as a part of her first conference, she gave us permission to speak up, to speak truth to power, and psychological safety is the cornerstone in enabling us to do that. So I had a great conversation with the CNO. Again, something I would never have done. I would never have reached out to the CNO, and now I actually engage in regular conversation with her through Twitter DMs. So again, that courage and that confidence that both Greta and Yvonne have referred to so far this afternoon, it's literally quite life-changing, to be honest. If I think about Becky 12 months ago and I think about Becky today, I am a totally different person, and that's largely testament to the experiences I've had as a result of this scholarship. So I've talked about opening doors, and I've already noticed some great feedback. Excuse my dog while he coughs up some sort of furball or something, so I do apologise. I've already had some great feedback in the chat. For those of you who listen to the Leadership Log podcast, I thank you. And for those of you who don't, I urge you to listen to it, because we are getting some great feedback around the episodes that we have put out there so far. So whilst I, had the vision for this podcast, and I host the podcast, I do not do it alone. And there is a small group of us from my scholarship cohort that work very closely with me to do this, because it isn't just the podcast, we have a huge Twitter presence as well. And so, I must tip my hat to them, because I couldn't do it without them. And in particular, Antonia Brown and Alexandra Dwelle, who are like the Twitter queens. They are all over Twitter, engaging with the community, doing the tweet chats, etc., etc. So, but this idea stemmed from, I was riding my bike. I've still got the video. I was riding my bike after my welcome day. This time last year, I was riding my bike after the welcome day. And I had this kind of vision of capturing our journeys in some sort of digital format, a little bit selfishly, because I was exploring the opportunities of podcasting or vlogging or something like that. So I recorded a video, one-handed, whilst riding a bike, I might add, and shared it with the broader My Emerging Leader group, and asked them what they thought. And then we had some conversations about the best medium to do that, and podcasting was the kind of overall winner, and then the rest just happened. It happened, I suppose, as a result of my drive and a result of my vision, but also as a result of people willing to follow that vision and engage with me in that vision, and seeing the power in that. So we're now at a point where we have 10 episodes under our belt. So we've done the Mentorship Moments one. We did one episode of that, and then at the end of the day, this was an experiment. It didn't really lend itself to more of a series, if you see what I mean. So we stuck with the core show, which is the Leadership Log, and then the mini series, which is the reason we started the podcast in the first place, which is the Scholar Spotlight sessions. So in the Scholar Spotlight sessions, we talked to past and present scholars, and then asked them why they wanted to be scholars, and asked them a little bit about their leadership journey so far. Episode 10 of the Scholar Spotlight sessions lands this Thursday, and you may be pleased or not pleased to know that I am the final Scholar Spotlight session episode for series 1 So if you've got nothing better to do and you want to listen to me drone on even further, then please do look for us we're on all platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, etc. The leadership log, the last episode of series one went out for that last week, so there's 10 episodes gone out there, going from authentic leadership, which the lovely Gemma did, to imposter syndrome that Lucy did, to making difficult decisions, leading through the pandemic. I'm testing myself now in terms of all those different episodes. But it's a huge privilege for me to be able to sit with those people and have conversations about those daily challenges, about particular aspects of leadership. I feel hugely privileged to have that front seat, in people's journeys, leadership journeys. And not only that, we are at nearly 4,500 listens in total. We launched in October 2021, 21st of October, with Gemma was the first episode that went out. Thank you, Gemma. And nobody's caught up with Gemma yet in terms of a place. Lucy's quickly catching up. So I don't know if that's the magic of F&F, but Lucy's quickly catching up there. But it's not about that. It's about what people are getting from listening to it. And this slide just demonstrates our global reach. So whilst 93% of our listeners ultimately are in the UK, we have listeners in all of these different places. And, when I look at this, when I'm talking to you now, I still can't quite believe where we've got to with the podcast and what we've achieved so far. Again, you can find us on all those major platforms. Again, if you're quick, you can catch that QR code. It'll take you directly to our anchor page where you can find all of the previous podcasts. If you are keen, once you've got into your journey a little bit, to do a podcast, then please do give me a shout. I know Stacey's on the call, and Stacey's already reached out to me, and we're working on something around women and leadership, because she challenged tradition and went to the Rewired conference last year with her, I think, 3-week-old baby at the, sorry Stacey if I got the age wrong, but yeah, so there's some great stuff happening, and people are reaching out to us all the time. And with the Vegas rules, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I will provide you with a spoiler that Bethan, who you're going to be listening to later from The Bravest Path, is episode 1 of series 2, but don't tell anybody, otherwise I'll have to kill you. And so, it moves beyond the podcast. We're trying to create a community. Ultimately, the podcast is just a part of that, and we're growing that community within the Twitter space. We have started to move it into Instagram, because we understand that those of us who are a bit younger maybe prefer that as a social media platform, because it lends itself better to more to kind of like the videos and things like that, whereas Twitter is a little bit more restrictive. But please do keep an eye out for, please do follow us on Twitter. Please keep an eye out. We do monthly tweet chats. They're all related to leadership types of topics. May the 4th was the last one we did. For you Star Wars fans out there, it was all built around Star Wars, and to make it a little bit fun and interactive. And we get some great interaction and some great sharing and some great discussion across the community when we do those tweet chats. Our polls have also been really popular as well. And so this next slide, again, it's just I probably need to update this, because this is from way back when we first started doing the podcast and things. But we've had some significant. Sue Tranker is following with interest. Charlotte McCardle. There's some key people that are really following the podcast. And again, in the interest of being courageous, I have DM messaged Michael West to ask him if he will be on the podcast to do an episode with me on compassionate leadership. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Some of the other things that I've done, again, using Twitter, and Twitter seems to be a constant theme in my life. But following on from a webinar and a blog that Gemma actually wrote, it got me to thinking about what we could do to try and encourage some positive thinking and some positive psychology around how our day-to-day working goes and all those sorts of things. So I introduced something called High Five Friday. So on a Friday, I encourage the Twitter community to share their top 5 highlights from their week. And again, you know, it's had a significant impact. Again, some of these tweets are old, and more recently I've had really quite honest and humbling tweets from people who've told me that they have been struggling with their mental health, and that High Five Friday has helped them to refocus and to think of the positive things that are happening in their life. And I can't even describe how that made me feel, to be honest. So just something so simple having such a profound impact on somebody out there that I've never met face to face, just shows the power of those virtual networks and those virtual connections. Something else that I've done is I've got into writing, something I would never have considered doing before. So there was an opportunity for us to write a blog, the Evidence-Based Nursing Journal. So I wrote a blog entitled 5 Leadership Lessons from Disney's Peter Pan. You can read the blog on the EBN, the Evidence-Based Nursing Journal website, or you can listen to me read my blog on the Leadership Log podcast, because again, I became very aware that some people don't like reading, and some people may have issues in terms of reading, such as dyslexia. And so yeah, whilst I am a huge bookworm, for those of you who know me will know I'm a bookworm, I'm chronically curious, I'm always reading something or other. But yeah, I was very keen to make sure it was accessible to others. So I created and I'm just in the process of writing another blog, which is all about how we can use storytelling and telling better stories to influence culture. So keep an eye out for that. In terms of spending my scholarship money, one of the things that I have been given the opportunity to do is to train to become a Lego serious play facilitator. This is something that I think was a bit of a curveball when I presented it to Lucy around wanting to do it, and quite rightly so. You know, I was asked to go away and think about how it'll help me in terms of my leadership. I did that. I made arrangements to speak with Sean Blair, who is the CEO of Pro Meetings, who do the training, and I came back and I put the pitch to Lucy, and it obviously worked, because then I was given the go ahead to do, because it is very different. It's not, but then I'm very different. You know, it's not a traditional kind of leadership course, etc., etc. But I guess the Lego isn't what it's about. The Lego is about making it fun, but ultimately it's a facilitation method to improve group problem solving. You can see what it's about there, and I look forward to practicing some workshops with some scholars maybe, and maybe some of the Florence Foundation Academy people as well. And then I can see I'm running out of time. So the other thing is I applied to be an FNF champion, which I'm hugely thrilled to be. And again, some reflection for me about what that means is in this graphic that I developed. I'm hugely thrilled to be a champion. I will continue to champion FNF probably for the rest of my days, because it's given so much to me. I'm not going to read through that. I'm happy for my slides to be shared. And I think just last but not least, I knew I'd go over the 20 minutes. We had this conversation. But last but not least, one of the things that we did as 2021 scholars in our group is we had this mantra about going big, about being courageous and going big. So my final words to you are, I am unique. I am original. I sometimes struggle to find a place or a space where I feel a sense of belonging. And this scholarship, the wonderful people in the foundation, my inspiring scholarship group, they embrace me for my uniqueness. They encourage me to express my diversity of thought. They support my creativity. Hell, they encourage me to be creative. And I feel a huge sense of belonging in Team Florence. So I hope that you will all embrace the next 12 months with an open mind and a willingness to push at every door and bring a seat to every table. And we, the scholars from 2021, bequeath to you our mantra of go big. Thank you.
Oh, wow, goodness, gosh, I feel emotional, Becky. Wow. That was just an amazing articulation of what this opportunity can achieve, and that's about using every single aspect of it to its absolute maximum. And thank you so much, Becky, for inspiring our next cohort to see where this can take them if they do go big and if they do invest as you have. And obviously, as you mentioned throughout, you've got the support of the foundation behind you to be courageous, take some risks, try things you've never tried before. But that was just phenomenal. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you for the opportunity of sharing.
So we were expecting a little insight also from Helen Bolsden today, who's one of our current scholars. Actually, she's been a scholar twice. And she was going to talk about the specific pathway for our digital scholars, but unfortunately she's not well. So she sends her apologies, but also her warm wishes and her offer to you, those of you that are on the digital scholarship pathway, to reach out and connect with her. Some of you will already know that she's Deputy Chief Information Officer at NHS England. So hugely well connected, highly supportive, and also an alumni, so knows exactly how you're feeling and how to make the best of that opportunity. We do have a short presentation from Jane Dwelle, which is directed to our digital scholars later on in the afternoon, so don't worry, you will get the information there. So moving on now, we're going into kind of information giving now, everyone. So a bit of a change of kind of speed and momentum to the inspirational messages you've heard so far this afternoon. So this is the nitty-gritty, really. This is about the practicalities of the scholarship and also our ways in which that we will support you throughout. So what you can expect and how to make the most of it. So if I could get the next slide, that'd be great. So we have a lot of evidence to show the impact of our scholarships, and that's mainly through the case studies that we collect from those of you that are willing to share your stories with us following the scholarship year and beyond. But we also collect data, and we'll be asking you to complete a pre-impact survey in just a moment to see where you're at now, and so we can see the difference that this makes to you in the year that you're with us, and then if you're happy, to keep contacting you and following your journey throughout. We also would like to encourage you to start to take note, to keep a journal throughout this year, and make a note when you see your F&F scholarship having influence. And that might be in terms of the way that you're communicating with others. It might be about how you're articulating your case for something that you see you need to change. It may be about how you are networking, or your network has grown as a result of the scholarship. But we want to collect those meaningful moments that perhaps we'll forget if we do it retrospectively at the end of the year. So please do, if you're willing, make a commitment to keeping that diary and really sort of journaling the experiences you go through. But what our data tells us is undoubtedly this opportunity makes a difference to career development. And actually 95% of our scholars have identified that this does have a positive impact on their career. And that's not always about promotion. It might be about making decisions in relation to future career aspirations and the direction that you see yourself going in. It is a completely personalised journey, and I'll tell you a bit more about how we achieve that. So what you won't be hearing from us is a set of skills, attributes, almost like a rule book for leadership. It's the opposite of that, actually. What we're going to do is offer you the space to really explore your individual approach to leadership. And that will be completely based on your motivations, your values, your early experiences, role models, those that have influenced you in a not so positive way, all of those things that we will help you to understand how you integrate and incorporate those things into the leader that you are and you wish to become. As I mentioned earlier, and I think Becky has brought to life so beautifully, this is an opportunity to network And it is with people that have shared that same motivation, drive and commitment to the profession that you do. And that's really, really important, that we acknowledge that what we are sometimes can find ourselves in nursing and midwifery is disconnected from our why. So what it was that motivated us to pursue this career path, and why we particularly want to have influence in this part of society. So we'll help you reconnect with that why, or to really understand that individual motivation to be here and to be achieving as you are. We're all about evidence, as you can imagine. We're continuing Florence's legacy, and she was, for us, the founder of evidence-based practice. And so we are helping you to develop the tools to be able to measure your impact and your success. And what we'll be asking you to do is to implement a change project whilst you're with us over the year, and to think about how you can measure that change, but also to contribute that knowledge to the wider world. So we'll be asking you to create a kind of a written output, something published in the public domain, which shares your experience, your knowledge, and the difference that you've made, so that others can learn from you. And this is all part of that ripple effect of a Florence Nightingale Foundation scholarship. So you are 100% here as an individual endeavour, but significantly for us is that wider impact that you can have. So this is not just about your individual practice or leadership, it's also about how you go out and influence regional, national, and for some of you, international policy and practice. And again, what we need to show is that evidence of impact as we progress through. So I'll move us on to the next slide to tell you a bit about how we're hoping to achieve this. So we have an ambition that all of our Florence Nightingale Foundation scholars, no matter what level they're at, and also whether they're following the leadership or the digital pathway, but they will consider themselves as systems leaders. So rather than seeing ourselves as pigeonholed into a certain area of clinical practice, because that's perhaps where our comfort zone is, or it's where our clinical expertise sits, that actually we can see our wider connection with the system and the way in which healthcare and social care is progressing in the future. And we hear regularly that there's concern that nurses and midwives don't have the capability or the ambition to pursue systems leadership roles. And we want to really smash that rhetoric and say, actually, every single one of us sees the role that we play within the system, even if we're not in a senior leadership position within those systems. We also want every one of you to think about digital and how digital is revolutionising the way that we provide care and services, and that nurses and midwives need to be right at the heart of that digital transformation if it is going to have the influence on the quality and the experience of health and social care that we are desiring. So we want you to see yourself as a digitally enabled nurse or midwife, even if that's not within your job description or you're not on the specific pathway. We're opening up your mind to the future we believe that we need to move into. We want to help to strengthen your voice. So we know that you are experts in what you do, and we know that you already have significant influence, but we want to be able to enable your confidence to think about where that voice needs to be heard. And perhaps forums that you've perhaps thought were only open to other professional groups or to nurses at a certain level, we want to start to help you have the confidence to take steps into those spaces and really understand that you have a sphere of authority, that you have permission to step into, and your voice should be heard and should be influential in those spaces. As I mentioned before, we want you to have research and evidence to underpin that viewpoint. So passion and heart gets us so far, but there are certain audiences that need data, and we want to help you think about how you can use that data to really elevate the strength of your viewpoint and your position. ultimately, we know when we invest in nursing and midwifery leadership, excellent care follows, and we have a part to play on a global level in this way. So this year, for the first time, we do have leadership scholars who have a focus on global health, and will be spending some of their scholarship time shadowing the World Health Organization Chief Nursing Officer and her team to really think about how what we're doing on a local level has global relevance, and similarly what we can learn from a global nursing workforce and bring back to our own practice. So next slide, please. This year, we're really, really excited to share with you the first attempt that the Florence Nightingale Foundation has had in transferring our way of working onto a brand new, newly designed, just for us, learning management system. Now, it is a complete experiment. So you are our first group that have accessed this platform in this way. And so we're hoping you'll join us on a bit of a journey of co-creation. So tell us what you like about it, what it needs more of, but also the things that are not working so well. And this is all based on feedback from previous scholars that have said, you know, we want all the information in one place. We sometimes miss things if it goes through email. I might change employer and then I don't get all of the information. So this is our attempt really to communicate with you more effectively, but also to offer you a platform to communicate with each other. So I'm really pleased to introduce you to our wonderful senior learning technologist, Rob Culford. And Rob has been the person that's driven this system, designed it based upon all of this feedback, but brought it to life for us. So Rob's going to give you a little bit of a tour and a demo.
Sure. Thanks, Gemma. Like Gemma says, my name's Rob Cutforth. I'm the senior learning technologist for the Florence Nightingale Foundation. So basically what that means is my background is in course design and creating online learning for universities mostly. I've come to the Florence Nightingale Foundation to set up, as Gemma said, their LMS, and to make your journey in the scholarship, with your scholarships, a lot easier, hopefully. So the words, I'll just start by saying, don't get worried about the acronym LMS. The Florence Nightingale Foundation has two websites now. We've got the main website, which has all the main stuff where people will come to learn about the foundation itself and all the main marketing stuff. And then we have what's called the LMS, or the Academy site, which is how you'll probably know it by. That will have the sections that are geared specifically to our scholars, members, alumni, and to the people who are taking on our online courses, which is a new thing that we're doing as well. So I'm just going to share my screen. Here, and I hope you can see that. This is the main Academy site, or the LMS. The two terms are interchangeable. When you first come to this page, you will see our main online courses. These are courses that we're developing for online learning. At the top, you will see that we've got a number of different sections. We've got the leadership programs, members and alumni, and then scholarships, which is you. So I'll just select that. And inside the scholarships page, we've got two sections at the moment. We've got resources and forums. These are both, you'll see that the word here that says protected. That means that you'll need a password to enter these two sections. These are meant only for you to use and to share with other people that are on the scholarships. Inside the resources, we've got 5 different sections. We've got the program specification, the Scholars Welcome Day agenda, the general information and forms, sample abstracts, and star alumni, and some FAQs. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these in turn. I'm not going to spend too much time in here because you'll be able to look at this on your own once you get the password. And I think you do have the password already. And if you do have any, by the way, if you have any problems accessing this material with the password or anything, please email us at academy@Florence Nightingale Foundation. You'll be getting that email address after this. Inside the program spec, you've got the hard copy version of this already, but we've also got the key dates, and some of these are still to be confirmed, but what you want to do is look at the group that you're in to find your dates. And these, keep an eye on this because this will be updated once the dates are firmed up. You've got your publication and abstract information, and then your contacts. And there's where this is the email address that you will use to contact us for anything really that has to do with the scholarships. Next, I think this is probably largely what's happening today. So, you know, a bit redundant at this point. But there's also some other bits that are happening later on today, online learning etiquette and the contacts again. Then you've got all your forms are in here. You've got your coaches list. So there's a number of different coaches in here. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this just because there are a lot of coaches here and there's a lot of detail and you can go through that on your own. Your scholar expense claim form is here. You can also download the coaches list. You don't have to just view it in this in the viewer here. And then here's the Florence Nightingale Foundation Improvement Project Abstract template. So you've got a template, your expense claims, and the coaches on this page. And then in this page, this is probably the one that you'll be most interested in. You've got some scholar publications from I think this is the last year, 2019. No, it's not, 2019. So these are some of the ones that we have chosen to display. And if you have any question, the best way to find out how to, the best way to answer any questions you have about the abstract is to look at these ones to see what other people have done. There's a number here. And then at the bottom, we've got 2 pages that contain our STAR alumni pages, which is on the main site. I'll just show you one of those. This is quite a good one. Dr. Nikki Cotterill and Improving Confidence. Again, there'll be a number of STAR alumni as part of this series. And as they progress, there'll be more that will show up there. And then at the end, we've got FAQs. So most of the questions that you have going into the scholarship, I suspect will be addressed in these frequently asked questions. But if not, again, you can contact us. That's the program specs and the general information. And then if we go back to scholarships, we have got some forums. So one of the most important things to do on your scholarship is to keep in touch with other people that are on it. And we've provided a number of different ways to do that. The biggest one is the forums, but I imagine you'll probably be getting together on WhatsApp groups and stuff as well. The way that these forums work, you would, again, find the group that you're in, select that. This will have you a link to your forum. You can either select the image or you can select the link. It's all the usual rules with any kind of forum. I'll select that. And then because this one's brand new, there hasn't been one. So I'll show you how to add a thread. So obviously one of the main ones is to introduce yourselves. Okay, and then if you want to be notified of follow-ups to when someone replies to yours, select submit. You tick that and then select submit. And then you'll see that that will come up here. So then when we go back to the forums, that will now, oops, I should have just gone through the other way. You'll see that will appear here, and you can add any kind of topics and respond to any of these as you like. That's a bit like the whistle stop tour. This, as Gemma says, this is your space. So this is very much the bare bones of what we think that you might need to make your way through the scholarship. But we're very open to suggestions. If you come up with anything else that you think that would make sense to be in this section, by all means, ask us and we'll look into adding it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rob. We've tried to make access as easy as possible, so you don't need to register for an account. We've done all that for you behind the scenes, so it's just a password. that you need to follow to be able to access that. And it is, as Rob said, unique to you. So this is your space, and that's a private space for you to access. And F&F will also, the team will also be monitoring those forums, and if there are particular things you want us to be aware of or questions that you want us to respond to, that's another place, as well as the Academy email address that we can contact us through. So really looking forward to seeing how that develops and progresses through the year, and really open to your feedback. We will try our best not to send out too many emails, but to post information on there so that you use that as your main point of call for information. So we've spoken already about what our ambition is for you through this scholarship year, and we take you through several stages to achieve this. So you have already started to have some one-to-one sessions with the King's Fund, and that learning will be picked up again when you move into a 2-day, we call it our residential. It's not really, but it's full on for 2 days. It is a virtual residential with the King's Fund. And that is very much around that self-awareness piece. And we do see that as the really golden thread that runs through the whole of the scholarship, is really understanding yourself, how that influences how you interact with teams, and also how that can be enhanced through your networks. We then enable you to think about what are the skills that you might need to learn to practice, and to enable you to start to have that authority and that influence. And that's very much around how we present ourselves, how we show up in different situations. And for some of us, there'll be certain strategies and tools we can learn to enable us to do that with real presence and impact. So for those of us that are sat in a room sometimes and think, gosh, I said that, but nobody listened, or I said that, but I was dismissed. It's really getting that feedback from each other and also our facilitators to learn about how we present ourselves in a way that we get our message across and people do really listen. And we also will be supporting you to lead a change. And we want to see that you have the opportunity to put everything that you've learned through the scholarship year into practice in your real world, whatever that might be. So the change project is for us very broad. It's totally defined by you in collaboration with your mentor, and some of you might also have had some steer from the commissioner, the person that sponsored your scholarship. But really the idea is that this is about practicing these skills on a tangible product and a tangible project that will have some kind of an improvement in your realm of responsibility and influence. So some people work on training, education programs, some people implement service changes, some people think about digital improvements. It can be really, really varied. There's no sort of parameters that we place around those at the foundation. So you'll be pleased to hear there's no assessment guidelines and marking criteria and those kinds of things. So next slide. Now, on the call today, we also have our travel scholarships, and the reason why we incorporate all of you into this introductory call is because, one, you are all F&F scholars, but two, we hope that those of you that have selected and applied for the travel scholarships might consider doing a leadership scholarship in the future. I know that I interviewed those of you that were successful this year for your travel scholarship, and every single one of you should consider this. There were great leaders amongst you. But your travel scholarship is more about funding, and that's opportunity for you to identify and to connect with networks. Could be from an international perspective, it could be more of a regional, national perspective, but thinking about how you can learn from best practice from wherever that might be and bring it back to your current context and environment. So we want to help you to think about how you can connect, how you can network, and how you can start to think about that network taking you to the place that you want to have influence in within your career. So the collaborations that are developed through these travel scholarships can't be underestimated. And our travel scholars will be spending some time with Lucy Lewis, who is a perfect example of the difference that these opportunities can make, and also the benefit that learning from others can bring to practice. So hopefully all your questions, our travel scholars that are on the call, will be answered by your time with Lucy this afternoon. So our next slide is really some more detail about what we call the core programme on your leadership scholarship. So this is everybody that undertakes this who is on a leadership scholarship pathway. So that includes our digital scholars. So first of all, we're here today. We're telling you all about the scholarships. Will help you to start to understand what to expect, and also to build some relationships with those that you'll be learning with. You will then have your 2-day residential, as we call it, so your online residential with the King's Fund. And this is very much about looking at leadership challenges, other contemporary issues, and also teaching you a method of peer group coaching that we call co-consulting, so that you can start to support each other. So this is not just about what we provide, but you start to think about how you can coach each other to maximise this impact. This is followed by what we see as the game changer for many, many of our scholars, and that is 3 days with RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that is focused around your communication skills. That's where we really do look at that presence, that impact, how you are perceived by others in the messages that you share. So every single one of us has the potential to speak as eloquently and powerfully as Dame Yvonne Moores. She's the person that I see as the role model in this area, and RADA will help us to think about how we can develop those skills. They're making me think now, slow down, Gemma. That's always their tips to me. Take a breath, let people hear what you've got to say. But that is residential. So you'll come together in groups of 10, and that will be based in central London, either at our offices at the Royal College of Obs and Gynae, or in a hotel nearby. And you work really in depth, and Johnny and Jenny from RADA are on the call to tell you a bit more about that in just a moment. We end our scholarship year fully in October, when we do a big high profile ceremony for you, which is basically like a graduation ceremony, but you will also have the opportunity at that point to present your change projects to the rest of your cohort, your mentors, and also a really expert audience that we really want to see, so they can really see the impact this investment has made. Now, there's a bit that at the bottom of my screen is blacked out at the moment. What that says is a specific opportunity that's available to our digital scholars, which is to attend a 3-day digital leadership academy in Somerset, and that happens in June. Jane Dwelle is on the call, and she'll be telling our digital scholars a bit more about that in just a moment. So next slide. So that's what you all do together, but there is also a strong strand of the scholarship that is about you and your individual development needs. So you've already had some individual assessments and feedback sessions with the King's Fund. You've been notified of your mentor, and you've been matched to that mentor very carefully. So we have identified that mentor as particularly valuable to you based on the aspirations that you shared with us for your scholarship year, based on their experience and our knowledge of them. And we'll speak a little bit more about that mentor relationship in just a moment. You have your core programme, sorry, back again, I'll come back to that. You have your core programme that is delivered by FNF, but you also have a personal budget, which is basically up to you and your mentor to decide what you spend on it. So you will have heard Becky say that she went on the Lego facilitation programme. That's a first for us. but there are lots and lots of options, and we will introduce you to some leadership development providers that we work closely with, and lots of our scholars have accessed their programs in the past, so they can tell you a bit more about what they offer. But we're not just limited to those. You could explore lots of different opportunities. And for our scholars this year, we have already written to you to let you know that you have a budget of £5,245 to spend on that personal element. Our digital scholars, though, will spend £2,150 of that on the Digital Leadership Academy. So they'll have just over £3,000 left to spend on something of their choosing. We would really encourage you to start to plan this as early as possible. So think now what you would like to do. You wouldn't be amazed by how quickly this year will go. But even if you attend that bespoke element after the scholarship year is complete, we'd like you to have booked what you intend to do fairly soon within the year. And the team will send you out a timeline for when they would like to have done that before. Okay, so on to the mentors now. So your mentor, as I said, has been specifically allocated to you, and as a minimum, we ask you to arrange to meet with them at least 3 times throughout the year, but to maintain some ongoing communication. We've enabled, because of the advancements that we've made with connecting electronically, we would encourage you to do that. Use Zoom platforms, Microsoft Teams, to cut down on travel and accommodation costs. But if you do choose to meet face-to-face, some of your personal budget can be used to facilitate your travel expenses to achieve that. So their role, they are there to help you think about your personal development plan. They will open up networks to you, so they will have access to people that you wouldn't have access to. And they will also help you to decide on what you're going to spend your personal budget on. And they will help us to approve whether that's the right thing for you. So they're there really as your guide. And majority of them have been mentors before or also have been scholars before, so they know a lot about the F&F programme. They'll also help you to write up your final report, which we ask you, as I said before, to submit for publication in some kind of a format. So as long as it ends up in the public domain in some format, then we're happy with that. But it is very much for you to drive this relationship. So you contact them to arrange the meetings, you arrive to those meetings with your agenda, and you take up the actions that you identified. And they will request from you an interim report so that they can check that you're on track with everything that you hope to achieve. Now, some of our mentors, for whatever reason, are less easy to get in contact with, or you might feel there's just not that chemistry there. So on paper it works, but in reality, actually, this is not offering you what you're looking for. We don't want you to sort of sit back and wait on that. If you are struggling to make contact, or you feel that it's not going to offer you what you're hoping, just get in contact with us at the Academy team, and then we're able to address that with you. And it might be about a conversation with the mentor, or it might be reallocating you, but all of those things are an option. So please don't think, oh, I'm disappointed with that mentor relationship. It's really key, and we're very committed to making sure it's just right for you. Okay, next slide. So we're on to some of the more practical stuff here, and Carolina is kindly, because she's the person that manages this, said she will talk you through how you claim your expenses. So Carolina, if you're there.
Thank you, Gemma. Can you hear me all?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, good. So this is the F&F expense form for your scholarship expenses, and this should be submitted for every new expense separately. But if you have like more than one expense on the same day, then obviously just fill out one form. But for every new expense, it should be a separate form, not to confuse our finance department. And so, yeah, we require your name and who you're sponsored by, your bank details, the date when you're submitting the form, the date of if it includes travel or accommodation. You have up to £1,000 for travel and accommodation included in your scholarship funding, which I believe I put in the email to you about your budget, and the name of the provider, the supplier, and if there's an invoice number. You can submit booking confirmations too. Again, it just needs to have your name on it, and a description of the expense. Mainly there will be leadership courses with different providers. The cost of the expense, which includes, where applicable, VAT, which will be deducted from your funding. We can't avoid that, I'm afraid, sorry. Please indicate in the last column if it's to reimburse you, or we can pay the provider on occasions, especially if the amount is quite high. And we endeavour to refund yourselves, scholars, within 14 working days. So yeah, I think that's all for me, Gemma.
Perfect, thank you so much, Carolina. So Carolina's right, we can either reimburse you, or if the amount is a higher amount, you can ask the provider to invoice us directly and we'll pay on your behalf. So this is something that we can support you with throughout, and if you've got any questions about this process, just drop us a line, and Carolina will be absolutely on board with supporting you with that. And we also do keep a track of each of your budgets, so if you've lost track of how much you've got left to spend, but we'd advise you to do the same so that you know what you do have. Unfortunately, we're not able to carry this over, so we would advise you to spend it. And I know it feels a strange thing. It's very, very rare nurses and midwives get this level of investment in their development, but think carefully about how you want to make that count for you. And you'll be hearing in just a moment from some providers that could give you some options. Becky, as we said before, did the Lego facilitation. She's also had some executive coaching. There is really no kind of limits, provided your mentor, and we recognise that this does contribute to your professional development. So that's brilliant. Thank you for that, Carolina. I think we're pretty much there with the information. So the only other thing to mention is that when you do attend the RADA sessions and to the conference, we cover the costs of any catering and accommodation related to that, but your travel would need to come through your budget. Okay, and the thing, just to reiterate to our travel scholars on the call, the messages are very much the same. Think about how you want to plan your year, the short, the medium and longer term objectives, thinking about how you can plan ahead so that you can make sure that you can have the time that you have envisaged with the people that you want to connect with. Now, obviously, in some countries, there are still unknowns in terms of travel, and some of you might not feel 100% about traveling at this time. So think creatively. Obviously, the video conferencing platform network now has opened up opportunities for us to connect with people that perhaps we wouldn't have been able to in a different way. So don't let that impede you, just perhaps think differently about how you might achieve those things. So we want to recognise and really give a huge thanks and gratitude to our sponsors, though there's a whole raft of them here and on our next slide. Some of these are brand new sponsors this year, others have been long-term supporters of the Florence Nightingale Foundation scholarships. We absolutely couldn't provide this without their support. And what's really important to us and to them is that they follow you on your journey. So you've all been told who your sponsor is and you've been given a contact email. We really hope you've already reached out to them to introduce yourself and to thank them for their support. but if you could make a note in your diaries to every couple of months just to check in with them and let them know how their investment in you is making a difference. Some of our smaller sponsors are much more personal, and I know that Emily, one of our sponsors, has actually attended the Captain Tom Foundation board and has presented to them, and that opportunity does come up for quite a few of our scholars, where they are directly invited to present and show the impact. So please, as a huge request to you, because this is where they think actually we can really see this is making a difference. So thank you for doing that and prioritising that for us. And next slide. So we've said already that the F&F team, Team Florence as we call ourselves, is here to support you. There are some key members on this slide who are very much dedicated to the scholarship journey. We call it our golden class service. Our scholars are absolutely up there on our priorities, and we hope that we'll have offered to you the experience that you are expecting, but we do want to hear from you if there are problems. So the Academy inbox is the best way to contact us directly, and Carolina will make sure whoever in the team that's most relevant will be able to answer your queries or connect with you in whatever way is appropriate. We've also allocated each group a member of the nursing team at F&F to be your point of contact. So Greta, myself, Lucy and Debbie will all be meeting our groups this afternoon, so we can start to get to know you a bit and think about how we want to work together. So as well as the admin team that are there to support you, there's also the nursing team there as well. And next slide. Now, we are going to take a break. We've got 15 minutes, so head back for past. What we'd like you to do is not only grab a cup of tea and perhaps a bit of fresh air, is also to download or click on this link and complete a very short pre-impact questionnaire. It's not our scale, it's a self-efficacy scale. So it's a validated measure. So we can see where you are now and then redo this scale at the end to see what difference it has made to you. So we can not only have the case studies that tell us the impact this has, but we've also got some measures that show us the impact. So if you could do this for us during your coffee break, that would be amazing. And when we come back at 3:30, we will be introducing you to a whole raft of different leadership development suppliers who are options for you to use your personal budget with, or who are already contributing to the F&F core programme. Our travel scholars, obviously this doesn't relate to you directly, but if you are inspired by what a leadership scholarship could offer you, you are very, very welcome to attend. So we shall see you all back here on this link, this Zoom link, for past. Thanks, everybody. So I hope everyone had time for a bit of a stretch and away from the screen, and we managed to resist using those few minutes to check emails. But what we hope that you've gathered so far from this afternoon is that, one, this is an opportunity that you absolutely deserve and are 100% welcome to, but also that we are a team that consider you now part of our community and our network. So on the things that you have wanted to explore, challenges that you feel have been unsurmountable previous to this, let us help you as an organisation to start to think differently about those things. Now, each and every one of you will be coming to this opportunity with a different motivation and reason to be here. And because of this, we designed the programme very much so that you can really pursue those individual ambitions and open up different ways of thinking to you that are most relevant to your development areas. So what we're going to do now is to introduce you to a number of our associates that we work with, both to deliver the core programme, but also to for you to think about as an option for using your budget as well to explore further. So my first special guest today is Jo Vigor, who is representing the King's Fund. And the King's Fund are a really core aspect of our programme. You will have already had interaction with them, but they also offer lots of other opportunities as well. And Jo's going to take you through those.
Thank you, Gemma. Can everybody hear and see me? I just want to check that that's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Lovely, thanks, Gemma. So as Gemma said, I'm Jo Vigor. I'm one of the Assistant Directors for Leadership and Organisational Development here at the King's Fund. And I'm really thrilled as ever to be invited to introduce you to some of our current development offers. And as Gemma said, Mark Patterson and myself have been working with the team at FNF on some of the wider development programmes. So if we could have thank you, next slide, please. So why the King's Fund? Well, we've got 65 years experience working within the NHS and the wider social care sector, including the voluntary and community sector, around leadership and leadership development. In fact, it's our 125th year in existence this year as well, so lots of history there as well. So this includes our work on open development programmes, which I'm going to come on to, but also our work with boards and exec teams and externally commissioned work across the whole system. So lots going on for us. So we feel that this breadth of experience gives us a really unique perspective, a perspective that feeds into every element of our development offers. So one of the things we really know is important at the King's Fund is that we have to be attuned to the current climate and the current challenges within the system, especially given the challenges that yourselves and other colleagues in the workforce are really facing at this time. And we need to be agile and relevant. We need to deliver the high quality content that really can stimulate your thinking at every stage of your development journey with us. So the other thing we do is we recognise that we're asking you as leaders to come away from your everyday and your teams, yourselves, and your really important work that you're carrying out, which means we need to create the right spaces for you to learn and for you to learn at the right depth. Really important. So before getting into the detail of a selection of our current programmes, I just wanted to highlight that all of our programmes offer things that are different and diverse, and you'll likely want to explore them in depth in your own time. But there's some golden threads that run through all of them, which I wanted to highlight as they aim to offer you a range of core skills and knowledge that we feel that any modern leader should have within their professional toolkits. So one of those first concepts is making sure all our programmes offer you a selection of core concepts, such as political intelligence, improving your decision making, articulating dilemmas, and working across boundaries, and even working across systems. So that's really important. And then in addition to that, you'll have the opportunities to undertake experiential experiences. That's a bit of a tongue twister for me, but experiential experiences, not just knowing about the ideas we feel are important for leaders, but feeling their impact, really learning how these relate to you and to your teams back in your real world, in your everyday work, really important. The ability and opportunity to practice skills such as coaching and consultancy and making sense of group dynamics in teams and in organisational units. The area of behavioural skills, supporting you to be able to say more, create lasting dialogue with others, sharpen your observations and widen your inquiry skills, really key. And finally, support you to have a broader awareness of the wider system. So as many of you may know, we'll be drawing on the King's Fund's analysis of policy and research and the emergent thinking to really explore how this helps to determine what is thought necessary and possible for leaders in 2022 and beyond. So in addition to all of that, we'll also be asking you to look closer to home, as any leadership changes starts with ourselves. So your impact becomes a central focus of the work. What do you bring yourself? And you have a chance to explore yourself, your sense of self and your leadership style and preferences, your history, what's got you to this place today, and what events have helped to shape you and what do they mean to you. Sharpen your thinking and your sense-making skills, and to explore what you tend to do in certain situations. So we know this is lifelong learning. We know this continues all the way through, both in our professional and personal lives. And explore where you may have a tendency to ignore or not to see. What are you seeing? What are you not seeing? And what does that mean next? What do you need to change? And then the other thing is to explore your impact on others. How do you lead? How do you show up on a day-to-day basis? You know, how do you handle conflict? How are you influencing? How do you inspire and mobilize others? It doesn't matter whether you're an introverted thinker or an extroverted thinker, you all have your own style, but how does that land? And a chance to think about what it's like to be on the receiving end of you and make adjustments once you've gone through some of those new perspectives. So all of our programs give you that opportunity to learn those things, but some are different in their content and approach. And I'm just going to talk you through some of those, a bit of a whistle stop through. All of this information is on our website, and myself or Mark Patterson are around in the coming weeks to talk through anything or answer any queries. So could I have the next slide, please? So the first one is personal impact and influence. I'm not going to read out what's on the screen, but basically to say this does what it says on the tin. This is basically an opportunity for you to really explore how do you have impact and influence within your teams and across systems in terms of how you turn up, etc. And it's online and face-to-face. And it's really about developing your personal vision and action plan. So it depends on where you are in your career, but this is something that's very popular. Next slide, please. So emerging clinical leaders, it really focuses on your development as a leader in the health system. And this is open to a mix of clinical backgrounds, nurses, medics, allied health professionals. So you get a real mix of people coming together early on in their clinical career, clinical leadership career. And it's there really to help you think about how do you develop a compassionate leadership culture. So again, online and face-to-face, and starts on our online version in 2022 in September. Next slide, please. Building your authority, or BYA, as we like to call it in the team. Again, it's online or face-to-face. And it's all about how do you actually influence without necessarily having the badge? How do you, without having the positional power, how do you actually lead and help people in teams and across teams to really explore what's going on in your system, working with the complexity that's present? So there's a lot of practice in this course as well. So again, building your personal resilience and capacity for learning. Next slide, please. Athena is our women's program. This is actually in the process of being redesigned. We're hoping to relaunch this in October. Originally aimed at senior women leaders, we're now actually hoping to open that up to other people earlier in their leadership career. And we're also looking to build a network of women leaders across, both from the alumni from the original program and the new program. And I've highlighted that the price will actually be less than the 6,100 plus VAT there. So I think we'll be coming in substantially lower than that if you're interested. So lots of development going on there. Next slide, please. And then the Top Managers Program Tmp, which is starting June of 2023. It's been going for 40 years and it is open to senior folk and senior leaders, and really tackle some of those issues of power, authority, conflict in role and across systems. So they're the main programs that I wanted to share. Gemma, am I out of time? the fact that you've appeared, or do we have time to play the video or the film? That's very old-fashioned, the video.
We are out of time, Jo, but we can send the presentation so people can watch the film.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Gemma.
Thank you. We're super proud of the partnership we've got with the King's Fund. It's one of our unique partnerships, and it does enable nurses and midwives to access the incredible intelligence that organisation offers through their policy influencing research. So really, really wonderful to have that as an integral part of the scholarship. And then for those of you that choose some other opportunities with the King's Fund as well for your own budgets. Okay, we'll move now on to our next presenter, which is Jane Dwelle. Jane is the Vice President of Chime. Again, another partnership we're incredibly proud of. This little section is particularly relevant to our digital scholars, but I'm sure that Jane will tell the rest of the group as well how this particular focus is relevant to them as well. And I think, Jane, you've got your own slides to share.
That's right, yeah. Can you see me? Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Good afternoon. Congratulations on your scholarships, and I hope you're looking forward to a fantastic year. And I do hope that Chime can be a part of that year for you as well. As Gemma said, we do already work closely with the digital scholars, those who have received digital scholarships through Digital Health and Care Wales, or maybe through NHS England and Improvement. But you're all welcome to join in. It's not just for digital scholars. And in fact, the work we do is highly relevant and getting more relevant, I would say, every month that we're going through as we come out of the pandemic recovery. So let me just share my screen. Here we go. And present. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides, and then we are going to look at a film. So welcome to Digital Health Leadership for Nurses and Midwives. Key word here is, of course, leadership. It's not just about digital health, it's really about other things. So what is digital health? Now, I define it as the process of using information, technology, digital hardware and devices, software in the cloud, and the collection of data with one principle, and that is to improve patient care. And there are lots of ways we do that, and we don't teach you how to put the tech into place. We don't teach you how to do data analytics. We teach you how to be the leaders that make that happen. Now, one of our people that we really like to talk about is Bob Wachter. He did a review of digital in the NHS in 2016, but what he found out still holds true, and that was that digitizing effectively is not about the technology, it is mostly about the people. And so our mission is to help you be those people that make that technology come to bear to improve patient care and outcomes. So as well as giving you a one-day introduction to digital health leadership online that Gemma and team will let you know about shortly, we also hold a fantastic leadership academy. This is a fully residential 4-day academy. We're about to do our third one in a year. So it's been really popular, and it has 3 main objectives. It helps you deliver your digital health leadership skills in practical and applicable ways. We show you how digital health can inform your practice to transform patient care. And probably most importantly, we help you to improve your outlook on your job and your time and your personal impact. So it's not what you expect. And I think everyone who comes to our academies leaves saying, well, I wasn't quite expecting that, but I'm really glad I came along, in a good way. So we're very proud about that. We do this in 3 ways. We look after you. You come to Callington Court in Somerset, a beautiful 12th century priory that's been converted into a modern 50-bedroom conference centre. Full board is included in your cost. And by the way, the cost is around about £2,200. And you're with us for 3 nights and 4 days. And we make sure that you have to think about anything apart from being there and enjoying our education. Our education is amazing. We've been doing this for 30 years. We structure it on 6 success factors. I've written them down on the slide. I won't read them out. I want to get onto the film. But as you'll see from glancing through those, they're all the things that you need to do to be a great digital health leader with impact. Including those success factors, we do spotlights on leadership communications, digital health policy, and of course, personal impact. And the whole academy is taught through a very lively and interactive series of presentations and case studies and group exercises. And finally, during the week, we introduce you to a network of peers. Some people on this call have already been, you can see your pictures there, Stacey. And throughout this time, you relax, enjoy social events and really get to know each other well. And I'd like to think that you build lifelong friendships and also a network of professional peers who you can rely on in the future. There's a quick overview of the agenda. Starting at Tuesday lunchtime and running through to Friday afternoon. That's happening in June. This current academy is fully booked. We are so successful with what we do. People love it so much. We are fully booked with this year's digital scholars and also other people. But if you're interested in doing this academy, we will be running another one in your scholarship year. So please register interest at chimeinternational.org and we will then be in touch with you about dates and when that will happen. And finally, new this year, we have got 2 accreditations that we are launching later on, actually later on this month. Certified Digital Health Professional and Leader for various people at stages in their careers. And that will give you the chance to really test what you've learned and give you an accreditation as well. So now it's time to look at the films. I'm going to share my other screen. Bear with me while I do this. I've got to now come out of this somehow. Hang on a second. I'm just gonna talk among yourselves while I get this ready because it's disappeared from my Google Chrome. Okay, here we go. Back to you. And this is the worst thing about digital health, isn't it? All the technology. So share screen. Okay. You'll see a little bit now about the energy and the ambitions of our Leadership Academy. Here we go. We use digital in all aspects of our life, and health should be no exception, except at the moment it is. And so with the potential to use digital to deliver safe, effective and productive care is not being explored properly.
Nurses and midwives are a huge part of the healthcare workforce. The technology solutions don't work for them. It's not going to be good for the patients. So I think it's very important that nursing is at the table while we're making those decisions.
What we do here at CHIME and in CHIME International is give nurses and midwives the tools to be the leaders that make that change happen.
CHIME is the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives. It's a professional association. We have been since our beginning about networking and education because we believe firmly that education is best done within the context of relationships, other people who have the same experiences and understand what you are experiencing and have gone through.
What we've done in CHIME International is build a unique and bespoke program for digital nurses and midwives. And we've done that in concert with Florence Nightingale Foundation, NHSX and Digital Health and Care Wales.
This event is really important because it's an opportunity to bring nurses together to talk about the challenges they face with digital transformation and get some time to think and learn together, learn new skills in terms of leading digital change. That's what nurses are asking us for, and that's why we're really keen to support this programme.
We actually teach new skills. We teach, what's going on in the world of digital health and care. We describe a lot of what's going on internationally, and we sort of expose them to new, ideas and concepts and things like that.
We teach this with a mixture of presentations, with case exercises, with real life situations, and through a lot of challenge on how people perform at work and what their personal impact is.
Almost the more important thing is that they're learning together and they're spending the time together. So what happens around the direct education sessions is all of this networking activity, conversation that's going on, where they're beginning to think through the impact of, doing things differently.
Digital change is hard. Any change is hard. And it's really important for people to have the time and space to think about what it is they want to achieve and how they're going to bring people with them. Those are sort of fundamental parts of achieving change. So having events like this is really important in terms of creating the space for the individual, but also for collective conversations to happen so that shared learning can happen amongst a group of like-minded people who are all striving to do the same thing. This programme and programmes like it are just a small part, a tactical intervention to achieve that. We need to do much more and do this at scale. But for now, what we're doing is empowering nurses who want to lead this, who say they want to lead it, with some skills to help them as they go on their digital transformation journey.
It's energetic, it's inspirational, there's lots of laughter. Out of the classroom activities such as quizzes give people a chance to relax, have fun together and understand more about their colleagues.
When we're done with 3 or 4 days of a program like this, yes, people have built their skills and have access to a lot more skills, but the relationships that have been honed are what really the long-term success will really bear.
The best benefactors of the education CHIME provides are actually the patients and the communities who benefit from the education we deliver to healthcare professionals.
Our vision is exceptional leaders transforming health and care. And so the very core of these programs, of the entity called CHIME, of the digital leaders we're training here and across the entire NHS, is to get them at the top of their game. So there actually is an outcome, which is patient care is improved. We want to empower the consumer to be healthier.
People will leave here inspired, energized and confident in their ability to be great digital health nurses and midwife leaders. And when they go back to their organisations, they are able to straight away put into practice what they've learnt, develop some of their strategies based on what we've taught them, and also use their new networks of colleagues to expand their impact and influence in digital health.
Oh, you're on mute, Jane.
Hope to see you all again soon.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jane. And hopefully what you heard from that video and then Jane's few slides there, and also those that have attended last year, yes, it was last year, it was just a phenomenal experience, and myself and a few of the FNF team were able to feel that we were there and present with the scholars that attended, and it was just fantastic. Thank you so much, Jane, that's wonderful. So now moving on to our next wonderful associate, which again is a partnership that is very unique and special to us at the foundation. It's a long-standing partnership and it's something that we are incredibly passionate about, and that is around helping our scholars really understand themselves as political agents with political acumen. And we do this in partnership with Eden and Partners. Catherine, over to you.
Thank you so much, Gemma, and it's really lovely to be with you all, and congratulations to you all for becoming scholars and the start of a wonderful journey. I think I'm probably the person with the longest institutional memory here, and this will be my 13th year of working with scholars, and every year it's a real pleasure. I think often, and I was looking through your Padlets, all the things you're looking forward to, no one said working their way through the mire that is NHS and care politics. So I think quite often you hear the word politics. For a few of you, you'll get excited, but for most people, it may strike fear into your heart. You just think it's totally indecipherable, and it's not something that is about you and what you can do. But I'm hoping that the offer we've got for you during your scholarship year is we believe politics is really just about getting things done. And as leaders, it's how you get things done for the benefit of your patients, for your organisation, for your professions, and wider, nationally, internationally. And our hope is that if you come on one of our days or both days that we're offering, depending on your experience and where you feel comfortable, it will help demystify the political process a little bit. so that you can feel that you have more of an opportunity and an ability to influence. It's not rocket science. Sometimes it's just having some time out to think about how you get things done most effectively. We're really lucky that we have a great team of people who work with us, people from across the broadest sense of political spheres. So people who work in local government, in the voluntary sector, people who are MPs, ministers, civil servants, journalists, all sorts of people who have an interest and particularly in health and care. And they come and work with us to help you better understand their world, walk in their shoes a little bit. So hopefully you can think about how you might get the issues you care across to them more effectively. So the way we're going to do that is we've got 2 separate days because we appreciate that you're all at different stages of thinking politically in its widest sense. So for those of you who are emerging scholars, we've got a day where it will help you think about the health and care system. I kind of view it very much like a jigsaw. You may feel you've got a few pieces of that jigsaw, but hopefully that day will help you put some of those pieces together. And we've now got, this move towards integrated care systems in England, and certainly Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland are slightly ahead of our game. But we're meant to be working in a more integrated way across health, care and the voluntary sector. So how do we do that? So just understanding the system is a really good place to start. Let us walk in the shoes of other people who are key parts of that system, whether it's local government or the voluntary sector. So you as scholars can think about how to work with them better to get those things done that you want to get done. All very practical, practical sessions with people coming from the outside, but you talking, learning from each other and thinking together. Our senior programme, and what we've done last year, which worked very well, because knowing that some of you who are emerging scholars may be more senior. So both programmes are open to everybody. So some people might feel that one is relevant to them, other people might feel that both are. So you're very welcome to come on both days. For the senior scholars, we sort of take it up a notch really, and it's thinking about how you influence legislation and policy at a more national level. We hear from a former minister, civil servant, to get a sense of how you influence at the top of politics. All of it is very readable across to Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland as well, because everything works in the same way, whichever country you're living and working in. We have a session with MPs, thinking about how you work with MPs locally to get things done and get them interested in your issues, and just some of those do's and don'ts. But for both days, we're hopefully, now that Parliament has opened up to visitors again, we're able to offer an afternoon of going into Westminster, so into the House of Parliament, where the idea is it's not a historic tour, it's an opportunity for you to see Parliament in action and think how and the opportunities that you have as nurses and midwives for meeting, talking, influencing politicians. So we'll hopefully go in and see select committees, both chambers in action, and just get a sense, get you feeling comfortable in the place. It's your Parliament. And for those of you who are working outside England, clearly you have MPs in Westminster, but also we're hoping it might then inspire you to go back to your parliaments in the other countries and do the same. So it's very much, as I say, there's two days, and we've got a series of dates that you'll be given in the autumn. You can pick to come on one or both, and we've done the days back to back in pairs. So hopefully it means that if you want to do both, you could do them both together, should that make your life easier and cut down on travel. Clearly we're going to be based in Westminster for those days, but we very much hope to see you and get you thinking more politically. Gemma, over to you.
Fantastic, thank you, Catherine. So for this particular option, what we'll do is circulate some dates for both of those options, and you can express an interest in them, and then we'll collate a group, and Catherine will work with you to plan putting that into practice. So look out for an email with more information on Eden and Partners. And I will be gate crashing this year with permission from Catherine, so I'm looking forward to that.
You'll be very welcome.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Okay, now moving on, can I invite Jacinth to join us? And so Jacinth is here from Inspiring Hope. Again, this is an option for you in terms of what you want to spend your own bespoke budget on. Jacinth offers a range of different development opportunities. She's actually working with the foundation currently around our own equality and diversity agenda and development. So we can 100% testify to the quality and excellence of this development opportunity, but I'll offer you over to Jacinth now to hear more.
Thank you so much, Gemma, and good afternoon to everyone, and congratulations on your scholarship. So my presentation this afternoon will take a slightly different approach, but hopefully will resonate with some of you when you're thinking about your development needs. So my name is Jacinth. I trained as a nurse, a midwife and a health visitor. And my last role in the NHS was as an executive director of nursing, or what is now called a chief nurse. And one of the very few chief nurses that looked like me in the early 2000s. So why do I say that? Well, unfortunately, the picture has not changed significantly in 2020. However, hopefully I don't need to rehearse the issues relating to the inequality at leadership level in healthcare. I think you only just need to take a look at your own organisations, whichever organisation that is, and perhaps with a fresh pair of eyes to appreciate some of the challenges. So I've had over 40 years experience of working in and with the NHS, as well as personal experience of being a patient. And I'm currently a non-exec in the NHS, a role that I've held for the last 12 years. So I've used my lived experience along with my educational and professional experience to develop and underpin my approach to the way that I work with individuals, teams and organisations. And yes, I do quite a significant amount of work with organisations around their equalities agenda and specifically race. But also alongside that, I also do a lot of work around coaching, executive coaching, personal development programs. So I often got asked, what or who helped me to get to the position of executive nurse? And so the program that I'll be talking about was developed following my personal reflections, discussions with peers around what practically worked for them, what has worked for me, what practically worked for them. And so my path to becoming an exec director of nursing was not straightforward. So that is to say, I made a number of what I call strategic moves to navigate what was for me rocky terrain to become an executive director of nursing. And Florence Nightingale said that I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuses. And I think what's one of the things that kind of got me through was actually when one door closes to look for the next. So on this program, we'll be exploring your personal impact through looking at 3 Ps, looking at personal power, personal presence, and personal positioning, focusing very much on what is within your personal sphere of influence. So on the programme, we support participants to become more aware of their personal impact, how you perceive yourself, the perception of others, and in particular, thinking about this in the context of work and of your career. So what this programme doesn't do, it's not about training you to be robotic or to be a clone of someone else or a prescription of how you ought to behave or an instruction about what's considered normal or even best practice. There's a real focus on being authentically you and what that means for the way that you lead and the way that you practice. And that for me was one of the things when I was going through through my career, advancing my career and personal development, was actually around who was I being trained and developed to be. And so it's really important that you reconnect with who you are authentically and that what does that mean for the way that you lead and the way that you practice. So our aim is to support you to develop an appreciation of what authentic leadership is and how you practice it, being genuinely you, becoming self-aware and operating with transparency. Maya Angelou's another of those women who I admire, and she famously said about dealing with other people, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And we know as nurses and as midwives and as health visitors, we know how important that this is. So beyond thinking about your career and your next move, any success must include knowing who you truly are, why you're here, and how you make your mark, raise your visibility, thereby getting the results that you deserve. So in my life and my career, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew what I stood for. And it was when someone asked me to introduce myself, and my response was all about what I did, my role, the organization I worked for. I remember vividly the individual who asked me to introduce myself again. She politely thanked me and then promptly asked me, same question again, adding, I'm more interested in who you are rather than what you do. So we'll explore personal power from the point of acknowledging your true authenticity at a deeper level using evidence-based psychological tools. Unfortunately, too many of us have been conditioned to behave in certain ways. So it's really important that we reconnect with our authentic selves and we reclaim our personal power to live and operate authentically, translating that into what it means to be an authentic leader in today's environment with today's challenges. So the moment I realized I was not living my true authentic self, I recognized that I was self-sabotaging. Michelle Obama, everybody knows, said, you may not always have a comfortable life and you will not always be able to solve all of the world's problems at once, but don't ever underestimate the importance you can have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own. So what does your presence say about you, about who you are and what you stand for? Or just as important, what you won't stand for? We all know that it's important that your messaging is clear, that it's consistent, and that you say what you mean and mean what you say. People often say they are different with friends and family than their work colleagues. So we'll explore what it means to bring your whole self to work, your whole cultural self, your whole religious self, your whole self in terms of gender, whatever protected characteristics, whatever aspect of yourself that you're feeling you're having to hide. It's really important that we explore that, what it means to bring all components of you into the workplace. And as a result of becoming more aware of your own impact and your own and others' perspectives, you will be able to communicate and lead more authentically and effectively. Being aware of my impact and who I am and what I stand for authentically has enabled me to have bold, courageous conversations at all levels within and external to the NHS. So this programme will support you to think about your day-to-day interactions and identify ways to develop new and highly effective approaches to build and manage more productive relationships. Programme involves personal reflection, use of stories, and examples of how you can practically apply the new learning. On this workshop, you'll be introduced to and explore the practical benefits of understanding your own and others' style, for living your true authentic self and how you use this awareness to your advantage. Therefore, developing your self-awareness, deepening that self-awareness, building and managing more productive relationships, review and manage your personal impact and personal image, and become truly authentic leader you're meant to be. So Michelle Obama said, courage can be contagious, hope can take on a life of its own. We all need the courage to shine a light on our true selves and to lead with power, presence and purpose. Thank you. Back to you, Gemma.
My goodness, wow. Thank you so much, Jacinth. I think in 10 minutes you have probably touched the hearts of every single person in the audience. Can you imagine to spend that length of time on a programme with you? It would just be absolutely wonderful. And I think it reminds me of a presentation we received from Wendy Irwin, who is the leads on equality and diversity at the RCN. And she said as an ending quote, if you've got skin, you're in. And it made me think this is about all of us, absolutely every single one of us that this applies to. So thank you so much. That was truly inspiring. I can see exactly why that's the name of your organisation. Thank you again.
Thank you, Gemma.
So our next associates are an organisation we have recently built a relationship with and have loved the collaboration. We've worked together to support early career nurses from across the whole of England through a webinar programme, which has been so impactful and so well received that we wanted to look at how we could also extend this opportunity to our scholars. So I'm really pleased to introduce you to Bethan and Gareth from the Bravest Path, who will tell you more about the very inspirational programmes that they offer.
Thank you so much, Gemma. Hi there, everybody. I'm Bethan. I'm the Managing Director of the Bravest Path, and I'm here with Gareth, who's our co-founder. And congratulations on your scholarship. How exciting. What an exciting year you've got ahead of you in terms of learning. So we're here at the Bravest Path as a courage building consultancy. Our programs specialise in helping you be braver, more compassionate to yourself and to others, and more connected to what you stand for and enhancing your relationships and connections. And Debbie, I can't move the screen, unfortunately, so I don't know if you can just move that on for me as we go through. That would be great, thank you. So our facilitators are all trained by Dr. Brené Brown. So some of you may have heard of her, some of you not so. And she really specialises and is the world leading expert actually in cultivating courage and connection. And her definition of leadership, if we just move on to the next slide, is all about actually that we are leaders at all levels here. So she really thinks about if you can find the courage in others, see the potential in other people and processes, you are a leader, right? It's not about the corner office or a title or a status in that space. And it really means so much to us personally to be doing this work with nurses and midwives and be here with you all today. Because both of our children are only alive today because of the quick and decisive action of nurses. And it was a midwife who helped me have the VBAC at home that I so dearly wanted. She helped me have the courage to do that. And you represent a community that really does care so deeply and held us so tenderly when we were at our most fragile. And so it's really almost impossible to put into words the impact that you've had on us. And so what we're here is to really help you grow and be the leader that you were meant to be. So if we can just move the slide forward, Gareth's going to tell us a little bit more about the programmes today, but we're going to be talking to you about two programmes. The first is Braver Than Before, and this is open to nurses and midwives from all levels, and it's focused on helping you take more smart risks, let go of what others may think, lean into those brave conversations, and ultimately emerge even braver than you already are. And our second, our Women in Leadership programme, is focused on the more senior level. So it's across geographies, across sectors, and it helps you really step into your power, build your voice, and live into your potential. So Gareth's going to give you a bit more detail on Braver Than Before.
Thanks, Beth, and good afternoon, everybody. I want to start with a question, and that is, what would your life be like if you were 10% braver? What difference might that have in how you show up as a leader? And what change might that have in your personal life? Gemma mentioned we've recently partnered with FNF to deliver webinars for all the UK's newly registered nurses and midwives. And that webinar was on cultivating courage and compassion for themselves and others. 10% braver for them looked like having the courage to step into difficult conversations, to hold people accountable, and set clearer, healthier personal boundaries. It also looked like overcoming perfectionism and no longer trying to say and do everything perfectly in the hope of avoiding feelings like shame, blame, and judgment. As Beth has said, we've had the privilege to train with Dr. Brené Brown, and she has coined a phrase called life paralysis. She describes it as all the opportunities we miss because we're too afraid to put anything out into the world that could be imperfect, or dreams we don't follow because of fear of failing or disappointing others. Braver Than Before is a program for nurses and midwives who want to move away from life paralysis and towards cultivating the courage, compassion, and connection necessary to find out what 10% braver really looks like. As you can see from the slide, we take you on a 6-month journey, blending modules of content, accompanied by group coaching to embed the learning and maintain accountability. Along with difficult conversations, setting boundaries and overcoming perfectionism, we also cover authentic leadership, smart risk-taking, and resilience. And to be clear, when we talk about risk-taking, we mean relational, not systemic. So this might include pushing back and saying no more, challenging behavior, or giving more daring feedback. We include resilience because when you're brave enough, often enough, you will at times fail. And the research shows that those who are already equipped with the skills to get back up are more likely to be more courageous in how they show up in their lives. Our previous cohorts have reported benefits, including feeling more confident to make braver decisions, lead more authentically and in line with their core personal values, and being more willing to take smart risks. But rather than just reel a list of benefits off to you, I'd like to share part of a testimonial from Sharon Price, who's the chief nurse at Swansea Bay University Health Board. She's currently on one of our programs, and Sharon has said, "It has been an amazing experience, which has given me a different perspective on leadership and allowed me to connect with leaders from a variety of backgrounds and organisations. The Learning Pod has been a massive benefit. The peer support and encouragement we have given each other has not only helped leadership development, but also introduced me to amazing leaders who I am proud to call friends. We have every intention of continuing in our pod, even after the programme is finished. With access to coaching and support from the Bravest Path team, we are encouraged to be brave, curious, and embrace our inner critics and allow our inner mentors to shine through. It has been cathartic and empowering." We wanted to share that with you particularly because I believe it illustrates one of the greatest benefits of this programme, the value that you will continue to draw from it months and years from now through the trusting, supportive, and meaningful network that you will join. We have groups from over 3 years ago, still actively meeting up, sharing job opportunities, and offering a non-judgmental space when someone needs it. We agree that courage is contagious, and we would love you to be part of this programme so you can start to give those around you the permission to be even braver too. Thanks very much.
And our Women in Leadership programme is slightly different. So if we just move to the next slide, that's a cross-sector, cross-geography programme. It's aimed at director level above. For example, you just heard from Sharon, who's a chief nurse on our current cohort. We've also got female leaders from Microsoft, the Department of Trade, assistant chief constables, creative and media agencies. It's a really diverse and fascinating, incredible group of women leaders there. It's a 6-month virtual programme as well. The key difference here is this is aimed particularly at stepping into your power, building your voice, sharing your influence, and setting those boundaries so you can lead even more effectively. There's also a Hogan psychometric, which identifies your bright and your dark side as a leader. You have one-to-one coaching sessions as well as your group coaching in this. We also have external speakers on this programme come in and share their thoughts on leadership, as well as, for example, in the radical self-care session, we have a nutritionist who comes and talks about the impact of stress on female hormones and how you can manage those more effectively to maximise your impact. And just on the next slide, there are just some key elements around that piece as well. So as we finish today, on our last slide, if you just move forward just 2 more slides. Just the next slide, please. That's great. Oh, sorry, just back one. So these are some of the key elements that people take from our courses. As we said, our focus is building courage, compassion, and connection. And what people say is this development affects every area of their lives, personal and professional. And this next quote just really sums up our approach. It's how do you become more of who you really are, letting go of what others might think and taking more smart risks. So, are you ready to be brave? We would love to have you on one of our programs starting in the autumn. Please just see we've got some early bird deadlines. If you'd like to register, we'd love to hear from you. Got my email there and I'll post it in the chat afterwards. And if you have any questions, we're always here. Thank you so much for your time today and wishing you all the best with your Scholar Year.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Bethan and Gareth. My goodness, this is a hard choice, isn't it, everybody? This is going to be a difficult one to choose. But hopefully you can see that throughout all of the different associates that we work with, there is a real emphasis on your individual journey and giving you those spaces to explore those aspects from a range of different perspectives and frame points that we hope will really align to your preferred way of learning. Thank you again. That was really excellent. I desperately want to go on one of these programs. Okay, so we'll move on to our next associate now, and it's Jonathan Story up next from Windsor Leadership. Now, I can testify to the value of this program. I recently completed it myself, and this is very much about that reflective learning space, which is such a rarity and felt such a gift and a privilege for myself. So I know a lot of our scholars have really benefited from this programme, and it's very, very popular. We've worked with the Windsor Leadership over a number of years to develop a bespoke programme just for our scholars. So I'll introduce you to Jonathan if he's there.
Can you hear me, Joe?
There you are, Jonathan. I could see you, but I couldn't hear you. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. We've not got your camera yet, though. There we go.
Yeah, so I've just been given permission. I'm here, everybody.
Wonderful.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks, Gemma. You've done half my pitch for me. Great sales. But congratulations to Bethan and Gareth. I loved all that about the brave. It's not a word we use on our programs very much, but it's one that we perhaps should. We talk about courage and confidence, but it's really interesting hearing that, as with all the providers. So congratulations from me as well to all you scholars. Very much hope we have some or many of you come and join us on our programs at Windsor Castle and Cumberland Lodge. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to talk to you a bit about us as a development organisation, the two key venues that we have. We work with a broad cross range of leaders from society right at the top level. The diversity of all the leaders is one of our key selling points, which I'll come on to when I differentiate the offering we have on our open and bespoke programs. We're also a charity, so we don't just take leaders for the sake of it. There is a qualifying process that we ask people to go through, although it's a fairly clear path for you scholars because of the relationship we have with Florence Nightingale. But our own ethos is about good leadership and leadership for good. So not only on our programs, you look at self-development and some of the challenges you might have as an individual within leadership, but we also ask you to reflect on the responsibility that comes with leadership. And that's how you lead, how your organisation recruits, all the impacts that you can have as an organisation and individual within society. And as with many of the providers here, we too have had a long relationship with Florence Nightingale, but Gemma kindly did that pitch for me. So next slide, please. So we have two types of program on offer for you, our core open programs. This is where you join an existing program. The big thing here is about diversity of learning and diversity of thought. So we have speakers from across all the different sectors, like the military, corporates, education. They'll all be at a level similar to you in your leadership journey, and it's about learning from each other. So there's a place to go on development within your own sector, but learning from other sector people. But if you think actually I'd like to hear something a little bit different, then our open programs are the better offer for you. But then we also design bespoke programs, and really that's on the back of Windsor Leadership being a very popular choice, that we have too many to put onto our open programs. So we create bespoke programs for you for your emerging and aspiring levels. The experience tends to join our open programs, so slightly few of you to create a bespoke program for you. We do have face-to-face. Most of our programs now are face-to-face. We do have some online options as well. And my colleague, Joe Davey, who's also in attendance today, should be very happy to explain the differences for you should you apply for either of our programs. Thank you. Now the next slide. So looking at some of the outcomes, there's a load of words down here, but what we do is help you find the inner leader of yourself. And when you found out more about you as the person, it helps you then to embrace all the other learning that you do, whether with other providers or through the health sectors and NHS yourself. We had a great takeaway line from somebody the other day that Windsor Leadership found something inside me that had always been there, but I'd never seen before. And the skills of our facilitators just help bring out something in you. And it might be around confidence. Imposter syndrome is talked about a lot. Courage as well, which reflects on the word brave that we had earlier, and empowerment as well. And I think in your sector, there's often a challenge with the relationship of doctors and nurses, and some nurses feel disempowered or not confident enough to take on the doctors and the powers that be at the higher end of the trust. And we really help people look at and challenge why that is a challenge for them. Everyone, sorry, you bring all your own agenda as well. So on the programs, we don't do any teaching. This is about where you bring what's the challenge for you, and we give you space on both the programs, the open and the bespoke, where you can talk about what's challenging for you as an individual, and with the peers in your syndicate groups, they will reflect back some questions to you just to help you understand better why you can't, or you think you can't, be a more effective and stronger leader. So the program design is around contracting, plenary, syndicate, reflection, and action. So the contracting is right at the beginning of the program. We generally find most people contract full confidentiality. So whatever you say on the program and in your syndicate stays in that room. We only have one, possibly two people on our open programs from a sector at a time. And this really ensures a really safe space for you. Because you're from different trusts, we might have a couple of people from Florence Nightingale on the same program. But otherwise, the idea is that you feel so safe and contained within the environments, especially at Windsor Castle, which is quite a contained space, to really open up and share some quite personal stuff. On the plenary sessions, we look at some of the qualities that come with leadership. So what makes a good leader, and that could be around courage, humility. We also look at integrity, values, ethics, all things that are very relevant to your sector and industry as well. On the syndicate, within syndicates, as I said, you look at some of your challenges, but we also discuss some of the themes around leadership. And then there's reflection time as well. And this is really important because it's quite rare that you as really busy people and leaders have time to just stop, to pause, and just to think. And so built into the program is reflection time. And for some people, that's the first time in their life or their leadership life they've really had time to reflect on what are the challenges around me, what are my personal challenges, and it might be something at home even affecting you being a more effective leader in the workspace as well. And then the action is about personal action plans. So at the end of the program, you will have some feedback from your colleagues about what they've seen in you as a potential leader. And they'll give you some thoughts of what you might do going forward, but you also create your own personal action plan. All of our programs are 2 parts. It's spread over a 6-month process. So we really think of it as a 6-month progressive program. And at the end of part 1, you set yourself some tasks and challenges, which by the time you reach part 2, hopefully you've challenged. But if not, there might still be some same gatekeepers, and that could be about you being your own gatekeeper as much as the people and leaders above you, stopping you being developing and more effective. So we give you space on that part 2 to look at why that is, or how you have evolved and changed, and then start looking at your current challenges on the part 2 as well. Next slide, please. We have 2 stunning venues. I'm in one of them at the moment, hence why all the books. This isn't my bedroom or study at home. I'm in the building on the right, which is Cumberland Lodge. And the building on the left is at Windsor Castle, and that's the interior. You happen to know the venue. It's behind the St George's Chapel. The point with the castle space, it's very contained, as I said, so it's almost like a retreat, and that adds that whole safety factor. And you'll hear us on the programs talk about We have big, thick walls being a castle, men with guns. This really is a safe environment, but that safety goes through to you being able to open up and share some quite personal things within a leadership context in a very safe space. Cumberland Lodge is surrounded by about 5,000 acres of Windsor Great Park, and it's got a very reflective environment, and hence those words we have at the bottom about retreat, refresh, and reflect. Next slide, please. So we have on the partnership, we have the bespoke programs and the open programs. So on the bespokes, we design that for your emerging and aspiring level. And then we also on the open programs welcome emerging, aspiring and senior leaders. And just you might get confused, but your aspiring people on the aspiring scholarship level go on to what we call our emerging, but it's about emerging strategic leaders looking at the challenges of letting go of some of the operational leadership and taking on a more strategic space. Next slide, please. And these are just some of the quotes that we'd like to have a quick read. I don't need to read them out for you. I had an interesting one from a bespoke program we had the other day where one of our delegates who'd only just spent 3 days with some people he'd never met before and said, I've got to know these people in 3 days better than I know my own colleagues at work, which I thought was quite telling about how personal some of the sharings have been with the individuals on the program. And that's it. So final slide. Thank you. If you'd like to know more, please do get in touch. You can go through our website, although it's got my name at the bottom, as Joe Davey, which Florence Nightingale will steer you towards. I'm very happy to help you make choices on which program might suit you best. And we'd love to welcome you. We've got the Jubilee coming up shortly, so you'll recognise a lot of pictures around Windsor Castle, and you could be there soon too. We look forward to welcoming you then. Thanks all very much. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jonathan, and really excellent articulation of that uniqueness of that learning opportunity. And as I said before, I think particularly for nurses and midwives, where pausing to reflect is such a rarity, if ever happens, it did feel like something that was transformational and a real gift to the profession. So thank you. Thank you, Gemma. So we'll move on now. We've got 2 more fabulous associates to introduce you to. Now, RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, is again a long-term partner of the foundation. The elements that the RADA offer to our scholarships and leadership programs are consistently identified as standout, transformational, the game changer. All of these words have been used to describe this learning opportunity. So every single one of you will spend 3 days with Johnny, who you'll meet in just a moment, as part of your core programme. But many of our scholars choose to use some of their personal budgets to do more work in this area. So I'll hand you over now to the wonderful and renowned Johnny Lewis, who is famous amongst our alumni, and the equally wonderful Jenny, who is our partner in crime and enables us to make this all happen.
Thank you, Gemma. Well, we've been working together now for nearly 10 years, and it's just been a fantastic partnership, and it's some of the work that we at RADA Business love doing most. So we're delighted and excited to be working with a new cohort of scholars for this year. So that's going to be fantastic. So I'm the client director, so I'm sort of in the office liaising, organising things. If you have any questions, very, very welcome to contact me. Johnny is the person in the room working with you, giving a very powerful 3-day programme. We're part of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, so the teaching that we do is drawn from the same sort of teaching and skills that are given to our actors as they are studying at drama school, but very much adapted for how we're going to use this in the world that you're in. So I'm going to hand over to Johnny, who's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Great, thanks, Jenny. Hello, everyone. And it's amazing listening to all these offerings. I feel like I want to do some of them myself. So, gosh. And just to say, I'm actually in a rehearsal room and I've stepped out for a few minutes. So if you hear any strange sounds, singing, please don't worry. I'm not being attacked or anything. It's all part and parcel of what we do at RADA Business. And I've been so lucky to be able to lead on this program, which is 3 days. And it's 3 days for you to come to RADA, well, to the venue, and it's an opportunity for you to spend, just as with the other courses, but 3 days looking at how you work, how your machine, this body that you have, this instrument, how it works. You know, no one really spends time with us on how our breathing helps us, and how, when we're not breathing effectively, how it can really get in the way of us. Just like any machine that needs oil to make the cogs and pistons go round, it's the same with our machine. If we haven't had that self-awareness around breath, particularly, our cogs and pistons seize up a bit. So yes, we function, but we're not perhaps at our optimum. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend 3 days. How lucky are you? No pressure. There's no expectation of being judged, being recorded. It's just that time to really, with specialists, looking at how to help you optimize you in terms of your body, how you walk the talk, your voice. How do you want to be as a leader? How do you want to optimize your speaking voice? One of the key things that I share with people, and it might be something you can reflect on now as you're doing this, is how aware are you of your resting bitch face? And I mean that by your listening face. We sit and listen, and often if we're not self-aware enough, that listening face can, you know, furrowed brow as we look into the screen or the camera, it can hold for people a sense of judgment, that you're judging what they're saying. So, you know, self-awareness, how do we become better at it? And I see some of the other courses are doing that too. We look very much from the outside in, from what you're doing with your body, posture, and how the breathing supports that going into the voice. And we look at this idea of embodied leadership. So walking the talk. What happens with your eyes? The eyes are the windows to the soul. How do you let people into you? And if you're anxious, if you're worried of judgment, if you've got that little voice going off in the head, if there's a bit of, you know, fear, even panic attack going on, then imposter syndrome, what are the practical skills that you've got up your sleeve to get you back to stability? And often we look at this idea of letting go of control. You find control when you're not in control like that, because control creates rigidity. So we explore, we play. It can be a little bit daunting, and I often hear right at the beginning from delegates who come of that, oh my, going to RADA, and am I going to be a tree for the day, and I'm not sure about this, you know, improvising or whatever it is. Everything that we do on the course is very practical and has an outcome that's related to the work that you do. So I think that sets it apart and makes it very special. And over the course, the second part of the 3 days, we look at particular situations and behaviors that you find challenging. And we will play out those behaviors. So you get a chance to rehearse. And rehearsal is great. We never get enough chances to rehearse those difficult, challenging conversations. And so practice, rehearsal, so that when you get to do the real thing, you're more prepared, you feel more confident, you feel more present. So it was lovely hearing, you know, Bethan talking about Brené Brown. It's wonderful. Courage. How do you have that courage to do that in the moment? And that's what we do for 3 days. It's fun, it's engaging, it's exhausting, and very, very practical. And just as an idea on that, I just want to show you a very quick exercise. As you're watching the screen right now, I want you to put one finger and thumb on the tip of your nose and one finger and thumb on your earlobe. And then I want you to swap them over. And I want you to swap them back. Yeah, we're all over the place. Yeah, it's, you know, suddenly we're overthinking it. There's an anxiety that, oh, I can't do it. What am I doing wrong? That's a very simple example of space, making space and using breath to help that. So just try that once more. So stick your finger and thumb on the tip of your nose and your other hand, your other finger and thumb on your opposite earlobe. And then as you breathe in, reach your arms out wide and bring them in again and cross them over. And then take the breath in again. And as you breathe out, cross them over. a silly little exercise, but actually it's about making space. We don't make enough space for ourselves. And that's not just physical space, but it's space to get our thoughts in order. And we all need a bit of that. So that's what we're going to do over those 3 days. Not just that.
Just that. But by the end of it, we might be able to master it. Thank you, Jonathan. And I must say, Jonathan and Jenny, there isn't a different word to describe this other than transformational, and that is how we consistently receive the feedback on the RADA input. So for every one of you that sat there thinking, oh my goodness, that seems really nerve-wracking, it will push me out of my comfort zones, it does. But that is where that self-development and growth is going to happen. And the great thing about you guys is you offer the space and the safety for people to do that, to be brave. And so yeah, you guys are in for a treat, I do promise you. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Jenny. And to our final associate now, so this is the Cranfield School of Management, and I'm here to introduce Sue from the Cranfield School. Again, this is an option for your bespoke element, the budget that you have. It is one that many of our scholars have taken up, another perspective and viewpoint on leadership development that may well sing and speak to your individual aspirations. Thank you for joining us, Sue, and also waiting to be last.
Oh, no, thank you. I've really enjoyed it, actually, the whole afternoon and hearing Greta talk, and I've just been practicing this as well. Not sure I've quite got it yet. but yeah, if you can go to the next slide, please, that'd be great. So this just gives you a little bit of a flavour for those that don't know about Cranfield School of Management. We're a sort of a leading business school in the UK, and some of the things that, I won't read it all there, but some of the things that sort of stand out is the faculty in terms of the close links that we have to business. You've very much got one foot in academia and one foot in the real world, and it's about straddling the two, and really are world leading in the space of sort of leadership transformation, and it's very much about knowledge into action with the way we work. But if we want to go on to the next slide, I've sort of chosen 3 programmes that are particularly popular over the years with the scholars, and that sort of fit in with the funding band that you have. We offer a sort of 40% discount for Florence Nightingale scholars. So if you are inquiring, mention that you are a scholar, and we'll make sure we do that discount. So personal transformation for leaders, that's been running now for sort of over 40 years, and it's very much psychology based. Psychologists run the programme, and we're the first business school to bring sort of psychology into the business school environment. And this programme is all about emotional intelligence and self-awareness. So understanding, what makes you and what makes other people tick. And so it's 5 days face-to-face at Cranfield, really immersive, and then a sort of 3-month gap going away to apply things, try things out, and then come back for sort of a 2-day follow-up. So, you said you'd try X, Y, Z. Did it work? How come it didn't, and so on. And it's really for sort of senior managers upwards who are, it can be for very different reasons why people come on, but it may be that they have some form of blind spot that may be holding them back from being the best that they can really be. Or it may be just life's got quite stressful, and it's about taking some time out to take a step back and reflect on who am I and where am I going, and who do I want to be. And for others, they may be at a crossroads in their career, work-life balance issues, or maybe they want to be more effective in influencing or motivating people. And yes, there's no more than 12 people on the programme because of the in-depth nature of it. And it's really about everybody having an opportunity to share their story. So it's a real immersive time, and it's really reviewing your life story, how and why we may be limiting ourselves in different areas, and it could be work-based, it could be in our personal life, and getting to the real root cause of those limiting attitudes. We carry over life a lot of baggage, and it's about tapping into the unconsciousness, getting rid of that to make us the best we can be, and giving us more choice going forward. So if we go on to the next slide, there's just 2 more programmes that I think are particularly useful. One of them is the Director of Strategic Leader programme. And so again, this has been going for over 30 years and it's really got a lot of rich faculty on it, but we're continuously adapting it and focusing on what are the changing needs of strategic leadership right now. And the way it's structured, this programme, is there's sort of 3 pillars to it. The first one obviously is looking at that strategy element, but also the leadership part. So reflecting on my personal approach to leadership and then going on to the finance side, as we need all 3, as you can't really have a good strategy unless you've got a good knowledge of leadership and finance as well. And the key part for who this is relevant to is people who need to be already assuming or will soon be having strategic responsibility for a certain part of the organisation. And it's really looking at addressing some of those questions that perhaps are keeping you up at night, and looking at addressing some of those and giving people an idea of big picture issues, and really giving you the opportunity to reflect on your own challenges as a leader. And then in terms of the content side of things, it's that strategic thinking at that corporate level, and it's looking at understanding the nature of authority and power, and looking at your leadership journey and how it shapes you and how you shape it as well. And one of the past participants I spoke to recently on this programme that talked about the fact that it's looking at given the biggest benefit I think they got out of the programme was it's looking at strategy and how do you take your team with you on that journey. So it's a 5.5-day programme coming in on a Sunday evening, and then it's the 5 days from there on and finish a little bit early on a Friday. And then if we go on to the final slide, developing leadership practice is the final one to look at. And that's next running in December. All these are starting in this autumn, in November, December time. And this one is a sort of 3-day programme with a 2-day follow-up, again, face-to-face at Cranfield. But it's very much a blended approach. So there's some e-learns before coming on to the first module, some e-learns between the modules, and some webinars as well. And it's really for sort of for middle management, people who have some responsibility for managing and leading others, basically. And it's looking at some of the timeless truths about managing people, but also some of the latest findings in neuroscience as well, and blending the two on the programme. And it sort of shifts from you as an individual, then shifts towards you as a team member throughout the programme, and then finally to you as an organisation at the end. And again, it's looking at increasing sort of self-awareness. What impact am I having on other people? What's my true leadership style that's unique and individual to me? And then preparing people for the next step in their progression, whatever that may be. And a lot of the time when you're face-to-face at Cranfield, it's kind of working in small groups, working on live issues. So probably a day of the programme, in 2 half days, is spent going into those smaller groups with a kind of 5 people, and really look and share what's your key challenge at work at the moment. And then the other people on the programme use the coaching techniques that they've developed on the course. We use the GROW model and looking at coaching each other through that challenge. And then you come back to that in the second module. And looking at motivating in tough times. How do we perhaps motivate people without financial reward? And how do we make this a great place to work for everybody in the organisation? And building a performance culture. So you may have your own mini culture in your team that may be different to the wider organisation, but making sure we're aligned to it. And it's okay to have a different mini culture. And managing talent, and how do we flex to the demands of the multi-generational workforce we have now, and the millennials and Generation X and Y and all those side of things. But yeah, that's the 3 programmes. But I'll drop in the chat the link to all of our open exec programmes, because there's a whole variety, but I just thought I'd pick out a few for today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sue. And so much of that feels relevant to the world that we're working within and the issues that we're grappling with. I can imagine you were sparking off lots of interest in our scholars today. So thank you so much, and for your time as well.
for those of you who've been pinching yourself during the day thinking, how did I get here when I started off as a student nurse many moons ago, and now I'm here on a Florence Nightingale Leadership Scholarship Programme, I just want to say, stop pinching yourself. This is for real. You are here. This is start of your scholarship year, and you'll meet the most incredible colleagues who will be your mates throughout your career, and your people that you will be able to, your reference group that you'll be able to refer to. And as I said, I keep it short. I thought, how can I sum up today? So I went to Twitter and I found some of the adjectives that were in the Twitter messages all afternoon. My phone's been crazy. I had to take it off the desk as it kept pinging the whole time, which is good news. So words from Twitter: emotional, excitement, passion, goosebumps, inspiring, energizing, bubbling over with emotion, courageous. And Yvonne, I think, hit the mark most definitely with everybody. And my last word is heroes. And of course, that word was kind of weird during COVID, because the professions didn't really want to think of themselves as heroes. And Yvonne was using that word to describe who is it that you're going to be, that the next generation of nurses and midwives. You're going to be their heroes. You've got your own heroes, but not the COVID heroes. Let's forget about that, the superheroes. This is your chance to find those right people that you want to follow, shadow, be courageous, knock on the doors, kick the doors down, say, I'm here. What I definitely know is when you introduce yourself as a Florence Nightingale scholar, they'll just say, yes, of course, anything is possible. And you're very welcome to use our logo on the bottom of your email or your letterheads, whatever you want, part of your email signature. I'm sure you can get that from Carolina. So you are Florence Nightingale scholars. You will have the most amazing year, and we are all here for you. We want to make it, we want to be part of your success. And so whatever you want, we're here to serve you. And I think I will stop on that, because it's been a weary day for everybody. But congratulations once again, and we'll see you at the next event, which I'm sure Gemma will coordinate as with Carolina and Sharon. So lovely to meet you all. Lovely conversations with the group I've just been with, albeit we had a techie issue, but never mind, we're going to have a little follow-up as a result of. But wonderful. Have a lovely rest. Well, there's not much left of the day, but have a nice evening, should I say, and a good way to start the middle of the week. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Thank you to my team. Brilliant, wonderfully organised. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.